Elf I am the protagonist template. Invincible Chapter 141 to 160. Chapter 141. The crystallization of the law. The blessing of the sea god. Please complete the order. After doing his best to deal with the injury of the giant needlebee, Baizi glanced at the turbulent sea beneath his feet, frowning slightly, just as he was about to let the giant gold monster strike and calm down. Bo, a figure of Dao Jia, Bai broke through the water and emerged. It spread its wings several meters wide, and with a single flap of its wings, the sea immediately calmed down, and the wind and rain stopped suddenly. It is Lugia himself. Dark Lugia, don't want. At this moment, Lugia's whole body is filled with splendid brilliance, high and awe-inspiring, and the telepathy that tends to be feminine resounds through the world, with a decidedly firm will. However, when it broke out and looked in all directions, the words in the mouth were a little unsustainable for a while. Because at this moment, there is no trace of Dark Lugia on the surface of the sea. There is only one human with the breath of its child. And, standing in front of this human being, two giant stinging bees and giant golden monsters that even it is deeply oppressed. Human. Lugia was about to ask, but then, when she saw the purple-black diamond-shaped crystals on Baizi's side, she was shocked. This is the law of Dark Lugia. Crystal. The familiar aura on it will never be mistaken. It is the breath of Dark Lugia. And the law crystallizes. It is an aggregate of laws that can be produced and assembled only by those who step into the realm of the gods and have a law comprehension of more than 30%. And there is only one way to produce it. Death. The appearance of each law crystal represents the fall of an existence that is not shallow enough to step into the realm of God. And the breath of the evil law crystal in front of you is clearly that of Dark Lugia. That is to say, Diablo Lugia is dead. It is very likely that the elves under the human trainer in front of him were killed. Thinking of this, Lugia's heart trembled. Has the human trainer already possessed such a powerful existence? It turns out that this west is the crystal of the law. Baizi raised his eyebrows slightly, and took the black crystal suspended in mid-air in his hand. Ya's body swept over. Immediately one by one, crystal of the law of evil, the top-level divine artifact, which allows elves to improve their understanding of the law of evil without any side effects. Note: the process is irreversible, please choose the correct successor. Elf, Lugia. Attribute: Super Energy, Flying System. Characteristics: Pressure, Multiple Scales, Monty. Level 1 God Peak level 119. 95 100ths, level 1 God high level unstable. Potential, level 1 God. HP, 106, first attack, 90, defense, 130, special attack, 90, special defense, 154, speed, 110. Exclusive skill, air blast, cyclone attack, strike. Skills, blow, slightly. Open black lens bracket authority, ocean current close black lens bracket. Status, poor, tired, the source is injured. Introduction. The legendary elves who live in the deep sea are in charge of ocean currents. It is said that if they wave their wings, it will cause a storm for up to 40 days. Because the phantom body is broken, the source is damaged and the damage is not shallow. The trauma is not shallow. Has the phantom body been broken? A ray of thought flashed in Baizi's eyes, and in the face of a great enemy like Diablo Lugia, he still split, combined with the erosion of little Lugia, it is not difficult to guess the general reason and process. Wu tilde. At this moment, it seemed that he sensed the breath of his mother, and there was an agitation at Baizi's collar, and for a moment, a small white head emerged from it. Then, there were a pair of silver wings in the shape of palms. Wu tilde. Xiaojia, Guy rubbed his eyes a little sleepy, and the first time after he woke up a little, Xiaojia, Guy stretched his neck with a cute face, and rubbed against Baizi's side face. Obviously, even if Baizi changed his form, the little guy didn't show any signs of recognition, and seemed very intimate. The first time she saw little Lugia, She opened her wings excitedly, and Lugia, who was looking forward to her daughter Ruyan returning to her nest, froze in the air. Especially after the little family found it. Although he was very happy and waved his hand, it didn't mean anything. Still lying in the arms of that human being, hugging each other with their necks crossed, the intimacy of the unstoppable arches. Lugia's entire bird was petrified. Very tired. It's only been a day. Has the cub been kidnapped? I don't even kiss my mom anymore. Thinking of this, Lugia looked at Baizi's eyes, which was a grudge, like a mother who had been robbed of her cub. Cough. Baizi was a little embarrassed to see, and cleared his throat with a smirk, with an innocent expression on his face. Because to tell the truth, he doesn't even know why little Lugia is so close to him. Maybe it's because of Baizi's power. Here, Lugia's resentment is only fleeting. In fact, for this benefactor who should have saved his child and killed the Dark Lugia, he is both grateful and admiring. It can be said that the favorability is almost full. Quote ellipsis. Humans. Clear telepathy rang from Baizi's ears, with obvious kindness. Thank you very much for your help, I will remember and repay this kindness. Now, let me pay you a small gift first. Right. The voice fell. Lugia's body flashed light, and suddenly released a warm breath, which spread up, and wrapped around Baizi's body. In an instant, like the sea gently wrapping itself, this feeling is fleeting. At the same time, Baizi's ear also happened to hear the system's prompt sound one by one, ding. You have received the blessing of Lugia, the god of the sea. Wild and neutral water elves will have an innate favor with the host. The favorability depends on different degrees, the minimum is 30%. Your body is purified by the power of blessing, constitution +2, spirit +2, strength +2, agility goodly how +2. You have obtained resistance to the water attribute factor, and the damage caused by the water element trick to you will be greatly reduced. Good east, west. After reading the instructions given by the system, Baizi's eyes lit up. I don't know that this is something that can only be possessed by the divine beast. He can only be blessed at the source level once in his life, and he can't help but exclaim in his heart. Seeing the big from the small, the blessing alone has such an effect. Just how impressive Lugia's own abilities should be, you can already get a glimpse of it. Truly a deity. As expected, their abilities cannot be judged purely by the attributes on the data panel. Their essence and hidden power are also shocking enough to be underestimated. Chapter 142. Send the cub Lugia and master the ability of the legendary tribe. For full order. After the blessing, coupled with little Lugia, the natural bridge of communication, Baizi and Lugia quickly got to know each other. After a while, they chatted with each other to sort out the cause and effect of the Dark Lugia. Is that so? Well, Lugia nodded and thanked again. Thanks to your help, otherwise, I really don't know what to do. It's nothing. Baizi shook his head with a light smile, stretched out his hand and scratched on the chin of the little Lugia who was stuck in his arms, and said, speaking of which, it can be considered that the little guy has a relationship with me. My Baizi's power is designed to overcome this kind of attribute power with abnormal state. If the little guy can find me so accurately, it is natural that he should not die. Woo tilde. Little Lugia let out bursts of cheerful murmurs, bent her neck, hooked Baizi's hands and fingers, and then closed her wings, wrapping Baizi's palms completely. Baizi's mouth, corner hooked, letting little Lugia's obsession. After all, little Lugia is still very cute, and he naturally doesn't hate each other's closeness. You can't say that. Hearing this, Lugia shook his head and said, no matter what the circumstances and reasons are, the life-saving grace is real. Moreover, not only my children, but even myself, or our entire Lugia tribe, owe you a life. If you hadn't eliminated that scourge, the whole sea would have faced such a bloody storm. 353 Lugia's tone was full of exclamation, rejoicing and gratitude. Afterwards, it swept its gaze over the giant stinger bee and the giant golden monster, looked at Baizi, and sighed softly, speaking, Baizi, you are truly the strongest human trainer I have seen in thousands of years. Being able to nurture ordinary elves to a level that is comparable to, or even surpasses, top legends, this talent, I, the god of the sea, Lugia, would like to call you the strongest. It's too much. Baizi touched the tip of his nose. This very visual sentence made him endure. No, shut his mouth and twitch the corners. Are you Uchiha Rocky Madara? Why, willing to be the strongest, is okay. Could it be that you are still ready to dance? 2 words were silently spit out in my heart. Just when Baizi was about to say something else. However, he found that Lugia suddenly swayed, and then, he was keenly aware that Fang's slightly vain aura suddenly plummeted. You are this. Seeing this, Baizi frowned. Lugia smiled bitterly and said, I was already traumatized by the breaking down of the phantom body, not to mention that the power of the overloaded driving authority will gather the ley lines and ocean currents. This time, I am afraid I will go deeper. In the ley lines and ocean currents, the slumber ACBH has been back to its origins for a long time. The concept of ley lines and ocean currents has also been explained to Baizi by Lugia before. Lugia will spontaneously calm the ocean currents when she is asleep. At the same time, as a part of nature, no one can disturb Lugia. It is a pretty good place to sleep. But then, looks like you've thought of it too. Lugia stared at Baizi's slightly squinted eyes, and his soft eyes swept over the little Lugia who was holding Baizi's hand, and said softly, the Earth's currents are the natural nodes of the planet. 1. The hidden power is very frightening. The little guy is still young. Without my support, it is difficult to survive in it. What's more, once I fall into a deep sleep, without my control, God knows where will it go again. Quote. For it, this world is too dangerous. Speaking of this, Lugia shook his head helplessly, and asked in a deep voice. So, I hope that the little guy can be temporarily handed over to you to take care of it for a while. After all, the person I can trust with confidence now, it's only you. After speaking, before Baizi could respond, he suddenly changed the subject. By the way, the god, calling conch is in your hands, right? Yes. Baizi nodded slightly confused, took out the god calling conch, and then flew to Lugia with Lugia's outstretched hand. This west is a token given by Lugia, the god of the sea in the previous generation, to the original water people's sacrifice, but it is actually a sounding device infused with the power of God, which can call nearby people with a special channel and sound. The Lugia tribe's response. As for whether to answer, response, call, it depends on the wishes of the Lugia who was only called. Oh, Baizi raised his eyebrows when he heard this. What's the point of, everything is about your love and my wishes. What's more, this god calling conch has the power of the gods. Long-term carrying can also strengthen the body, and can also enhance the affinity for the water system. Of course, what I said was the undamaged conch shell. As he said that, Lugia swept his wings, and the condensed spiritual power turned into strands of threads that fell into the mid-air conch. It's like cooking a cow to solve a cow. Layers of mysterious pictures and texts are sketched and depicted on the conch of the god, calling conch. Then, with a slap of the wings, the surging mental power instantly wraps it up. The whole is like a triangle, and the pattern of the hooked jade pattern at the corners gradually solidifies, turns into a solid state, and is printed on the outside of the conch. Afterwards, Lugia pulled out another silver feather, pulled it into a silk thread, and wrapped it around the automatically smaller conch. In the end, a delicate and small conch necklace appeared in front of Baizi. Lugia's breath slipped again, and then with a wave of his hand, he threw Dong Shi to Baizi and said, Okay, this Dong Shi has been retrained by me, injected with new divine power, and also portrayed once you have the seal of authority, you can take it. It's very simple to use, just connect the seal of authority with mental power, and it will get bigger. Then, in addition to the original summoning and refining functions, it can also directly command the summoned Lugia tribe. At the same time, as long as I'm at the seaside, I can use this conch to connect directly to the channel of the Earth's currents and call my true body to come across the realm. But for the time being, I need to go into a deep sleep, and I guess I can't make it. Response. Quote. If you need combat power, you can give priority to summoning Lugia from the Whirlpool Islands or the additional waters of the Orange Islands. They are the only members of the Lugia clan who have set foot in the realm of God other than me. Speaking of which, Lugia couldn't help but sigh in her heart. As a medieval era, the peak period is enough to compare with the top legendary group of the Risikuzu clan. Up to now, there are only 3 or 2 of these big cats and kittens left. Quickly restraining his thoughts, Lugia pushed out of thin air and sent the God-calling conch necklace to Baizi's body. Take it. Thanks, Lugia. Baizi took over the east-west without being hypocritical, and at the same time, solemnly expressed his thanks. Regardless of other functions, the ability to directly command the summoned Lugia tribe is enough to show the trust of the other party. What's more, he's not blind. Making this brand new God-calling conch is obviously not easy for today's Lugia itself. Even if the other party wants something, Baizi is still willing to recognize this friendship. Don't worry, Lugia, this little guy stays with me for a day, and I won't let it hurt in any way. This is a man's promise. Chapter 143. The incoming black flash cracks the empty seat. Don't speak, I will take it as your default. For full order. That's good, look forward to seeing you next time. Lugia laughed lightly, took a deep look at the little guy nestled in Baizi's, and turned his streamlined figure upside down. A thud. Then I went straight into the deep sea. No, as for walking so simply. Seeing this, Baizi was a little dumbfounded. Woo tilde. The little guy in his arms raised his head a little later, and looked at the place where Lugia disappeared. Okay little guy, next, you're going to live with me for a while. Baizi crossed little Lugia's wing nest, raised it high to divert the attention of the little guy, and said softly again and again. Woo tilde. Little Lugia's eyes lit up, and suddenly broke away from Baizi's palm. With a cheering cry, he threw himself into his arms, his calf fluttered, and his head rubbed against Baizi's neck without stopping. Ha ha ha, don't be like this, little guy, it's a little itchy, ha 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 ha. While speaking, Baizi gently pushed away the head of little Lugia, who was very obsessed and intimate with him. Play with the little guy for a while. For the sake of safety, after asking the little guy for his opinion, Baizi temporarily subdued him and crashed into the Pokeball. Then, he moved his thoughts and looked at the remaining time of the future combat power time limit card displayed on the system interface, 1056. There are many kinds. This time is short or short, long or long. But in this situation now, it seems a little embarrassing. Because he can't find what to do with this time. Or, assist in a wave of monsters. Or, I call out the giant needlebees and iron dumbbells, and take this opportunity to let them impart a little experience. However, just when Baizi was thinking. Located on the top of the 9 heavens, the clouds above his head suddenly fluctuated violently like a vortex and spun away. The turbulent airflow formed a huge void and swept through it. In the faintly emerging cyan streamer, a slender dark dragon shadow was meandering. The body climbed out of the clouds, crimson red. The bright round pupils were weak, and they just stared at Baizi and the 2 elves beside him. Baizi's heart pounded. He recognized the identity of this elf with scabs and scars all over his body. This is that, a black flashing rift seat. Sizzle tilde, Terry tilde. At Baizi's side, the giant stinger and the giant golden monster were suddenly facing enemies. Although the aura is slightly inferior to the previous one, only the dark Lugia, and there is no vast divine power to show, but the 2 pets know this guy's character well. At the moment when there is no contract with Baizi, who knows this martial arts maniac what kind of action will be made. At the same time, Baizi, who had calmed down a little, turned his attention to the behemoth in front of him again, and in his eyes, the dazzling brilliance that no one could see flashed away. In the next second, the data panel of the Black Flash Risikuza was revealed in his eyes. Elf. Rikongza Black Flash. Attribute. Dragon flying. Characteristic. airlock exclusive feature, so the effects of the weather, regardless of gain or weakening, will be nullified, but the weather itself will not disappear. Level 1 God Peak, Peak level 119, 0 100ths. Potential, level 1 God, Extreme. HP, 105, Attack, 150, Defense, 90, Special Attack, 150, Special Defense, 90, Speed, 95. Exclusive skill, Finishing Touch. Skills, Tornado, Air Slash, Divine Speed, Dragon Wave, Dragon Meteor, Dragon Dance, Destruction Deathlight, Primal Power, Dragon Tail, Titan, Reverse Scale, Hold. Status, Slightly Injured. Law Comprehension, Flight 99%. Introduction. The shining legendary elves who arrived in the realm of the gods are the only clansmen in the Riftu clan who can compete with their patriarch, the primitive Riftsator. They have the talent and will to fight that are unparalleled even among the legendary tribes. Not long ago, broke through the ranks of the first level gods in the battle. So strong. Baizi was slightly surprised to know. Since it is marked as breakthrough not long ago, it also means that the previous rift seat should only be a high-level god. But in the case of a first-level god and high level at most, it can already match its patriarch, the original cracking seat, who is a god in charge. You must know that the divine beast with the rank will increase its own combat power. The pinnacle of super-evolutionary tricks, the pinnacle of the first-level god. 0. Ask for flowers. The black flashing cracking seat in front of him can fight against it with a slightly inferior level. No matter whether he wins or loses, its powerful combat power is evident. L. Moreover, when it comes to the black flash cracking empty seat, Qin Chuan can't help but think of that. Only in the theatrical version of Herpa, the super demon god of Nimbus, fighting against 6 super powerful black flashes of first-level gods in a row. The rift seat is bound to be rare. And the black flashing Risikuza is likely to have only one. So, will the one in the theatrical version be the one in front of him? If so, then everything is explained. What is the first-level god of the peak level challenge? In the future, it has the same top legend, but it has a top-level record of 1v6 but has the upper hand. And also, what was the reason for such a powerful black flash cracking seat being injured? Thinking back to the incident where he unintentionally healed the black flash crack empty seat not long ago, and the aftermath of the fierce battle with the unknown existence on the top of the clouds when Ho-Oh summoned the phantom body. Same in the Kanto region. So, will it be? Just when Baizi fell into deep thought, a girl's voice that was slightly clear and stern echoed in his ears. Human, come, fight me. Huh. Baizi was stunned when he heard the words. Female. Ah no, mother. And many more. Did she just invite me to fight? There are too many elements, and Baizi is obviously a little stunned, but he is stunned, and the black flashing cracking seat completely ignores it. Don't speak, I take it as your default. Yeah tilde. The black flashing cracking seat roared and snaked the dragon body in the air, and the jade-like light condensed to the extreme in an instant. The next moment, it turned into a green arrow of light, pulled 2 orange-yellow shadows on its side, and slammed straight into the giant Needlebee who was always vigilant below, and the giant golden monster. Direction. Chapter 144. Baizi, the Dance of the Spinning Top Dragon. How can you play like this? Please complete the order. Swish one by one, the air seems to have been drawn a line of fire, and the attack of the black flash cracking seat is simple and rude. Instantly, into the hyper-evolved it. Bring gusts of wind. Flying at a dizzying speed, with sharp jaws like a halberd, the target is directed at the giant stingray. A shot, the hand is full force. It is also the exclusive trick of the crackling seat family. The finishing touch. Golden monster. The accident happened quickly, but Baizi took over the superpower of the future body, and his mental value exceeded the peak of 100,000. He still reacted in a close call and shouted loudly. Terry tilde. The giant gold monster, who had been prepared for a long time, moved when he heard the sound. Kacha, kacha, in a sound like a mechanical rotation, the eyes of the giant golden monster shone with 353 rays of light, and the illusory data brilliance flickered. The thick limbs like iron pillars turned into afterimages, very dexterously woven in the front half of the body, and in an instant, a hemispherical shield composed of countless ultra-small reflective walls appeared in front of the void supported by the four arms. Supported by the giant golden monster, the main, moving greeted the incoming cracking seat. Buzz the big needlebee retreated quite neatly and hid behind the giant golden monster, without the slightest idea of trying to fight against Kakuroza. Immediately after. Roar tilde. With the soaring and domineering dragon roar resounding through the sky, the peerless green glow cut through the sky and slammed into the honeycomb-shaped hemisphere shield made of countless reflecting walls supported by the giant golden monster. Bang! Thorn! A dull crashing sound like Hongzhang Dalu resounded in the air, and the instant the two sides touched, bursts of dark red-edged electric light erupted. The surging force was transmitted from the outside of the shield. Even with the divine power of the giant golden monster, when there was nowhere to use the power in the air, it was pushed horizontally by the black flashing splitter and flew upside down hundreds of meters in midair. Click! A tiny crack appeared in the honeycomb shield. And then, just like triggering a chain reaction of dominoes, one after another cracks spread and grew like branches, and within a moment, they almost covered nearly half of the shield. Terry tilde. Bang! Facing this, the data in the giant golden monster's eyes flickered again and again, and the strong repulsion burst out, and in the moment of stabilizing the figure, the four arms stepped on like a wheel. The honeycomb-shaped shield of the semicircle softened instantly and folded up like a wave. Bass! The sudden change of force point made Risikuza's impulse unstoppable to deflect and turn in the direction of the concave shield, smashing the firelight, and galloping along the side of the giant gold monster. Chance! Baizi and Big Needlebee's eyes suddenly lit up, tit for a tooth. Sizzle tilde. The big needlebee hiding behind the giant golden monster quietly rose, the needle arm half-wheel, pulling out an inexplicable force to bless the intact left needle arm, and then. A little cold light came first, and then the gun shot out like a dragon. This gun is lightning fast, but also surprisingly accurate. At the staggered moment, I picked a scab without dragon scales in the cracking space, and at the same time brought out a swarm of flesh and blood. It also doubled, and the erosive power was shocking. The evil energy of people was poured into go. Bang! Interlaced dull sounds rang out one after another. This is not only the sound of the secondary damage caused by the tit-for-tat trick, but also the dragon's tail that Kakuzuza counterattacks at the critical moment. Kacha, Bangyi, the already overwhelmed shield immediately shattered, and the unstoppable dragon tail trick of the split air seat slammed heavily on the body of the giant golden monster, like playing volleyball, swept it straight away, tumbling. Smashed into the middle of the sea. The large needlebee fluttered its wings, avoiding the remaining energy, and stood opposite the black flashing cracking seat again. Moment. The giant golden monster broke out of the water and crossed between the two again, blocking the giant needlebee behind. On its body surface, a clear white seal printed with dragon scales is clearly visible, but in terms of injury, for the giant golden monster, this is only the degree of skin trauma. The first round of this lightning flint confrontation. The big needlebee and the giant gold monster have the upper hand. You guys, it's not bad. The azure light flickered and washed away, and within a moment, the torn wound of the black flash cracked empty seat quickly closed and stopped the bleeding. And suffering from this injury, the black flashing Kaikong's expression was not angry but happy, and there was also obvious excitement in the beautiful voice. 0. Come again. The dragon body meanders, accompanied by a low, pitched sound. The black flash cracking empty seat straightens the dragon body again, and the green dragon element explodes, turning into a jade-colored light arrow, breaking the wind and dividing the sea, and hits directly. Still the finishing touch. Golden monster, use it one more time. Baizi's eyes narrowed slightly, as the so-called good move is not afraid of being old. Therefore, facing the same finishing touch of this move, he prepared to repeat the old trick, combined with the previous tactics, and then attacked the opponent. Anyway, he saw, this black flash crack empty seat has a crazy energy when fighting, likes to play head-to-head confrontation. Even in the face of attack, the first thing that comes to mind is not evasion, but the intention to exchange injury for injury and counterattack. Fortunately too, otherwise, once Risikuza, whose mobility in the air is almost invincible, starts a guerrilla attack. Tisk tisk, just thinking about it makes the scalp tingle. However, before he finished speaking, the next scene made by Zeno that even if he did not fight guerrilla warfare, facing a top legend, especially a top legend like Black Flash Crack Empty Seat, who had experienced hundreds of battles, it's still too naive to play tricks again. Roar tilde. The passionate and tyrannical sound of the dragon's roar shocked Haitian 1.7, and the splitting seat, which had advanced halfway, suddenly flicked the dragon's tail, borrowing strength out of thin air. In an instant, his body twisted like a spinning top, turning into a tornado-like spinning arrow of light that burst into the air. And at the same time, the crimson-red haze like halos rising up and down all over the body also slowly surrounds them. Baizi instantly recognized the changes in the body of the black flashing Risikuza, the mouth and corners twitched, and the inner heart was speechless. The dance of the spinning top dragon. How can you play like this? Chapter 145, The Frontal Shock, Under the Mask. For full order. Well-known. Dragon Dance is a well-known and powerful auxiliary buff trick of the dragon system. It can not only enhance the attack, but also increase the user's speed. It can be said to be a very practical changing skill. It is not inferior to the sword dance technique that focuses on enhancing the attack ability. It can be said that each has its own strengths. For most dragon type and even non-dragon type elves, dragon dance is a necessary member of their regular arsenal. Oh yes. What needs to be explained here is that, as a quasi-god of the dragon system, the fierce biting land shark known as the earth dragon cannot dance the dragon dance. To know. Even a water-type elves like lobster soldiers who can't fight with dragon-type 8 poles can learn it. But as a pure-blooded dragon shark, he can't learn the dragon dance at all. This is even more outrageous than the fact that Groudon can't fly. At least Groudon is the god of the earth. Jumping is difficult, can't fly, that's forgivable, right? Funny. But your dignified, earth dragon, doesn't know how to dance the dragon. Lio2 bites the shark, you quit the group. What else is it called? Earth dragon, you can change it to earth shark. Well, let's stop talking, let's get down to business. This dragon dance is a very excellent change type buff trick of the dragon element. Although it is powerful, it also has the same disadvantages as sword dance. That is the preparation time that must be taken when completing the dragon dance. Whether it's dancing according to the mystical trajectory to perform the fight dance, to stimulate the energy and muscles within the body, or to concentrate on contemplation, to liberate the latent power. These all require full attention. This also means that if the dragon dance is used, during this period, the body will be in a state of incapacity. And once such preconditions are interrupted, dragon dance will not be able to take shape. Of course, sufficient proficiency and targeted training are not impossible to reduce the preparation time for dragon dance. But less. I've never heard of buff skills being used in combination with straight skills. This is not a direct augmentation skill like high-speed movement. To know. Even the big needle bee, who used his talent to reward his diligence to almost reach the full level of proficiency in the sword dance trick, can at best achieve seamless connection when using sword dance with other tricks. But in the end, the two skills are used separately. But the black flashing splinter seat in front of me is quite good, not to mention the trick change in the middle of the finishing touch, and it is not completely superimposed on the dragon dance, and it is so successful. Where do you let Bai Zesheng make sense? Gone. He cursed inwardly, but in the face of the black flash cracking the empty seat, Bai Zi didn't dare to neglect him at all. The power of the finishing touch is already perverted enough, but now it increases the impact, strike power, persistence and penetration power in a spiral posture, supplemented by the attack speed buff superimposed by Dragon Dance. This is really going to be real, even if it is not a series of two. His two elves, at least one must lose the ability to fight. Under such circumstances, defense is bound to be unsafe. Even if it is defended, it will continue to be drilled with the finishing touches like this, and I am afraid that it will end in a broken face in the end. In that case, then use offense instead of defense. Bai Zi's eyes were lowered, he filtered his thoughts while his heart was spinning, and he shouted in a deep voice, "The giant gold monster, meet, go. Iron wall, Euro ball. Terry tilde." The low, sounding roar was accompanied by the sound of the mechanical rotating shaft, and the giant golden monster, whose whole body was coated with a layer of bright silver energy iron film, folded its forearms and tightly covered it all around. Immediately afterwards, a layer of splendid light waves came out from the eyes of the giant golden monster, and quickly spread to the whole body, turning into a layer of energy field like a sphere. At the same time, the body of the giant golden monster also rotates at high speed, turning into a spinning top like a spinning top, and heading straight for the black flashing slasher. Good come. The clear and tender drink came out, and the cracking seat in the sharply swirling finishing state did not mean to avoid it at all. The whole body was green and generous, and the speed suddenly soared again, and the whole body was pulled out in the void. Long photo shoot. Like a falling star. Straight into the oncoming spiral iron group. Boom. The finishing touch of the rotating arrow collided with the metal top of the iron wall top ball, and the dull impact sounded suddenly. What followed closely was the shock wave of terrifying energy that oscillated at the center of the confrontation between the two. The clouds are gone, the sea is sunken. In the air, circle after circle of annular air waves spread rapidly, turning into substantial air waves, blowing away everything between the sea and the sky. The gust of wind suddenly struck, causing Bai Zi's complexion to change. He quickly raised his palms and pushed forward. In an instant, a layer of burning white translucent crystal wall appeared in front of Bai Zi. 353 next second. Bang! A strong thrust came from the barrier of mind power. Bai Zi's shoulders swayed, and then his face flushed and he retreated for hundreds of meters, and the air wave gradually calmed down a little. And this moment. On the field. It is located in the center of the battle between Black Flash and the giant gold monster. Thorn, accompanied by the sharp sound of grinding gold and iron, electric sparks rose continuously, the aftermath of the two sides of the competition spread wantonly, and at the cross-section of the encounter, a burst of waves rose. The black arc flashes continuously in the void. Qi-jin, lightning flashes, shocks, air explosions. The energy wave of the riot filled a piece, so that Bai Zi couldn't see the scene at all. Standing on top of his elbow with one hand, the burning white shield rose, the other hand was placed on his forehead. Hesitating for a while, Bai Zi finally twisted his eyebrows and tore off the blindfold covering his face. Chapter 146. Is it time for me to say something nice now? Please complete the order. The distorted and extremely bright scene suddenly came into view, and the eyes were swollen. Then, there was a sour feeling. This kind of feeling was like suddenly wearing super high-degree myopia glasses, which made Bai Zi feel dizzy for a while. Fortunately, this feeling comes and goes quickly. It didn't take a while, although there was still a little bit of sourness, and there seemed to be warm tears seeping out of the corners of his eyes, but Bai Zi basically got used to it. Once again, he turned his attention to the battlefield. From the perspective, the energy stance that originally blocked the line of sight was suddenly pushed aside like a cloud and became a piece of clear. It was very easy for him to see the black flash crack empty seat and the light stand in the shape of the giant gold monster. Not only that. Still in the stalemate confrontation, in the black flash cracking empty seat and the body of the giant gold monster, the energy factor of the flowing, is also completely unobstructed by him. Therefore, although on the surface, the two sides seem to be on the same level, but compared with the still stable and strong energy factor of Risikuza, the steel factor of the giant gold monster, running inside is still operating to the extreme. Continue to stalemate, the giant gold monster will definitely lose. Can't wait, go. Big stinger, gauntlets push in, go. Exterminate the stinger. He stared at the constantly moving energy node on the black flash cracked empty seat, and Baizi's mental power instantly contacted the big needle bee in his arms, and shouted in a deep voice. Beer tilde. At this moment, the large needle bee, who had already taken the opportunity to break the half-remained needle arm and spent his physical strength to regenerate it, moved upon hearing the sound. The splendid purple ons aggregated and condensed, turning into a layer of energy armor covering a pair of needle arms. Immediately afterwards, the giant needle bee put his right arm across the front, and the gauntlet expanded again, turning into a lavender semicircular arc energy shield. Afterwards, the large needle bee fluttered its wings and charged forward in an inexhaustible charge, turning into a lavender streamer to break through the surrounding energy stance, and rushed to the side of the cracking seat at an unparalleled speed. Needle arm swings between. The right needle arm, wrapped in a little scarlet luster and layers of azure energy, stabbed the torso of the black flash cracked empty seat suddenly. Choke. There was a stabbing, the sound of gold and iron clashing sound, and then, there was a delayed air tearing, cracking sound, and the blue-green energy attached to the bag. The long needle wrapped in the gauntlet in midair, a phantom of a bright lance pierced through it, and stabbed heavily under the neck of the black flash cracked empty seat, 7 inches square. Bang! A dull sound resounded between the sea and the sky, followed by 5 blue-green energy rings rising from the humming sound. Foreshadows. Although this one-shot killing needle, Thorn did not have the effect of one-hit kill, it caused the highest damage, 5 times the damage. And through this stab, the rapid and ferocious impact of the giant needle bee, the impact forces completely poured on the rapidly rotating torso of the black flash crack empty seat, driving the whole body to move slightly laterally. Bow, and deflect to one side. At the same time, the little scarlet energy factor also invaded the body of the black flash crack. Roar. This sudden blow made black flash crack Kongza endure. No, hold on. Let out a painful dragon roar. The balance was broken, and it was no longer able to wrestle with the giant golden monster. Between body twists. It was actually freed from the rotating finishing touch by the heavy blow of the giant needle bee, and it traversed in mid-air, and a powerful dragon tail slammed towards the giant needle bee and the giant golden monster. Put it down, be under the hood. Wide area destruction. This blow can be called a second to the top. Take advantage of the situation and turn the disadvantage into a counterattack, not to mention that the timing of the choice is also stuck in the direction of the old power of the giant needle bee and the giant gold monster, when the new power is not born. I have to say that although the black flash cracking seat is the same wild top legend as Diablo Lugia, the ability shown in combat experience has left Diablo Lugia a few streets away. But just when the dragon's tail of the wide area destruction of the black flash cracking seat was about to hit the giant needle bee, a heart-piercing pain suddenly emerged from its body. And along with this pain comes the twitching feeling that the energy in the body is suddenly cut off. The body of the black flash cracked the empty seat, and suddenly froze. It's now. Malicious pursuit. Frozen fist. Baizi's eyes suddenly brightened, and without hesitation, he shouted to the giant stinger and the giant golden monster. It turns out that those flashing energy nodes are attacked. Will the torso be stiff like a short circuit? Thoughts surged in my heart. In reality, Baizi tried his best to widen his eyes. In the blue eyes, white mist rises up like a dream. From the corners of his eyes, the warm liquid seeped out again. And in Baizi's perspective, a looming white spot of light finally appeared on the slender dragon body of black flash crack. I found it. Under the connection of the vast spiritual power, The big needlebee and the giant golden monster also saw the weakness of the black flash crack empty seat at the same time. Beer tilde. And go. The malicious pursuit perfectly hit the inverse scale on the neck of the black cracking seat, and the sudden increase in strength made the black flash cracking seat, which was able to break free from the rigidity, shake. And then. Terry tilde. The death-defying confrontation has long aroused the ferocity of the giant golden monster. In the heavy mechanical roar, the giant golden monster that spontaneously moved into a state of high-speed movement rushed forward with a terrifying repulsion explosion. The frozen fist, like a meteor hitting the ground, stabs the same part of the malicious pursuit. Immediately, the refreshing chill poured down with a huge force, directly smashing the slender dragon body of the black flash crack empty seat into the sea, arousing a water curtain all over the sky. Boom, crash, delayed loud sound then rang in Baizi's ears, and the water droplets that shot in all directions were like a hail of bullets, hitting Baizi's face, which was thousands of meters away, and there was still obvious pain. With this, you can see the fierceness of this blow. Hey tilde. Although it is 2 against 1, the giant stinger itself has suffered a lot in the Battle of Diablo Lugia, and the level of the giant gold monster is also slightly inferior. In addition, the opponent is the legendary top legend of Black Flash Crack Empty Seat. Can hold the upper hand in battle. To be honest, this sense of achievement is really exciting. Just one word, cool. Just when Baizi was restraining his heart, Shen, preparing to alert the giant Hornbee and the giant golden monster, the combat power time limit card on the system interface happened to be 0 at this moment, 0-100. In an instant, the full good Li Hao power in the body inside gradually began to subside, the costumes changed, the line of sight recovered and lowered, and the giant needlebee and the giant golden monster also turned from real to virtual, slowly disappeared in front of Baizi's eyes. Haven't had time to react yet. Immediately afterwards, Baizi felt that his feet were empty, and his whole body fell weightlessly towards the sea below. Clap Lala, and at this moment, the slender black dragon shadow broke through the water, and its body twisted, pulling up Baizi like a snake, the dragon head lowered, and the red pupils were quiet. Staring at Baizi's eyes. There is doubt and scrutiny in his eyes, but there is a hint of playfulness. Baizi. By the way, is it still time for me to say something nice now? P.S. The anthropomorphic picture of the beast tilde. Chapter 147. The empty seat that makes the temper, the glasses of sealing the magic please order. Then what? Baizi sneered, and was about to say something when he found that the black flash cracked empty seat withdrew from the super evolution state in a burst of green light. Wandering like a snake in midair, he brought Baizi to a reef and put it down. 4 eyes facing each other. The eyes that looked like substance made Baizi's breath stagnate for a while. Afterwards, an imperceptible smile flashed in the red pupils of Black Flash Crack Empty Seat. Qingli's telepathy rang out. Today, the battle, I'm having a blast. Goodbye, human. Black Flash Cracked Empty Seat took a last look at Baizi, accompanied by bursts of dragon roars, whether intentional or unintentional. The dragon's tail flicked, splashing a splash of water and swept towards Baizi, then went straight into the sky, and soon disappeared. After all the fun, the black flash cracked the empty seat and did not intend to delve into what happened to Baizi's sudden loss of power. But after 2 hits, he didn't even have a chance to fight back. To be honest, it is a lie to not hold back. As someone else, she might have given Fang's ashes a long time ago, but Baizi is kind to him, so it's naturally not good for him. Therefore, it was only on a whim that the young daughter's temperament like splashing water was made. The oncoming waves sprinkled down, Baizi's mouth twitched, and he raised his hand. As his thoughts turned, he was about to use his thoughts to stop it. Humph approximately 353. A needle-like tingling sensation suddenly came from his brain. Baizi groaned, and the scorching white light that lit up slightly on the palm of his hand suddenly dissipated. Yi la la, the water was pouring down, and Baizi suddenly poured a chicken in the soup. Good half sound. The stinging pain gradually dissipated. Really? With a slightly wry smile, Baizi stretched out his hand and wiped the seawater on his face, but when he was about to put his palm down, he found that there was a faint white spot of light flickering on it. This is it. Baizi's eyes narrowed, his expression a little weird. Weakness perception. Squat down slightly. Baizi reflected on the sea and looked at his eyes. The pupils have completely turned into blue, and white mist flashes from time to time, which is very beautiful. Of course, it is also quite conspicuous. And when Baizi tried to control this power, he found that he couldn't turn off the power of weakness perception freely. Tisk. Sensing the colorful energy perspective in his sight, Baizi pouted a little irritably. However, at this moment, the system's prompt sound followed one by one. You learn the new ability in the power of Baizi. Weakness perception, new super ability skill, energy perspective, a little income, get reward for attendance, seal magic glasses. Magic sealing glasses. It can effectively suppress the runaway of the ability composed of mental power, which is ready to use and takes effect immediately. Looking at the small round sunglasses in his hand, and inquired about the introduction on the secondary interface, Baizi blinked his gorgeous eyes, a little puzzled. Originally, he thought this was the reason why he used the spiritual world cloth to cover his eyes in the future. Now it seems, doesn't it? Also, this reward for work, it's too timely, right? Somewhat dumbfounded, he glanced at the sunglasses in his hands, shook his hair, and placed them on the bridge of his nose. Not bad, back to normal. I looked left and right, and found that the line of sight soon returned to normal again, and the energy perspective and weakness perception did not appear again. Even if it is pulled down a little bit, it has no effect at all, and other abilities can be used normally. For example, reef. This is a small piece of mixed reef composed of biological reefs and volcanic rocks. Yes. Baizi suddenly smiled with satisfaction, and immediately took his eyes back. And then, the system's beep sounded again, causing Baizi's mouth to rise, and the curvature of his mouth became even more pronounced. You use the magic sealing glasses to continuously suppress the spiritual runaway. Heaven rewards diligence. Only the persistent, sustainable, and the mental stability continues to increase 0.5%. Yes, as expected, God rewards hard work, ACBH, you can do anything, haha tilde. Baizi Chengxiao withdrew his gaze from the system interface and focused on the real world again. At this time, under the moonlight, Hai Tianyi was silent, and he couldn't see that he had experienced two battles called Battle of Gods before. It's time to go back to. The slender palm reached to his waist, and he took off the fourth, light blue diving ball and threw it. White light flashes. Whoops tilde. With a soft moan, Laplace appeared on the sea beside the reef. Laplace, I'm going to trouble you. Take me to the coast in this direction, back to the golden sands of Lamperchi. Baizi approached Laplace, stretched out his hand and touched the big head that came close, pointing in the direction of the coastline, and said softly. Wu tilde, underscore. Lepraston squinted his eyes comfortably, seeing that there were no other elf companions left and right. He blinked his big eyes twice, and licked Baizi's cheek. Ha, you bastard, how can you learn from Zoroya? Baizi didn't refuse Laplace's intimacy, and after playing for a while, he jumped on Laplace's back and sat down. Speaking of which, this was his first time riding a Laplace. The back of the Laplace was very hard, but he didn't panic when he sat on it. On the contrary, there is an inexplicable comfort. And the protruding place on the back shell of Laplace can also be used by the rider to hold the handle to stabilize himself. In general, Baizi's senses are very satisfied. It really deserves to be called the most suitable mount elf for water riding trips. Baizi sighed, and patted Laplace's back with his hand. Okay, Laplace, let's go. Whoops tilde. Laplace nodded, paddled his flat feet, avoided the reef smoothly, and swam in the direction of the coastline without showing any bumps. Out of the reef area, into the vast sea, The cool evening wind blew on Baizi's hair, cheeks and body, up and down, like the gentle soothing of the mother of the sea, surrounded by moist air, and the air, between the breath and the breath, makes people feel relaxed and happy. It's really good. Baizi held up the sunglasses on the bridge of his nose, took a deep breath of cool moist air, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but raise slightly. P.S. Go ahead, beast anthropomorphic, fat tilde. Chapter 148, Perverted Exclusive Ability. Son of the Sea, for full order. 2 consecutive battles of gods, although still full of physical strength, but mentally exhausted. But the mental effort is also not to be ignored. At this moment, Baizi sighed slightly, exhaled slightly, turned his body over, put his head in his hands, and leaned on Laplace's neck. After soothing for a moment, he immersed his consciousness in his mind, and began to count the gains from the previous battle of killing God. When the mind turns, click on the reward record. In an instant, columns of reward columns that have not been received are neatly arranged and displayed one by one. Power of destruction, exclusive to the Hornbee, can make the attack of the Hornbee with a certain armor breaking, destruction, erosion, characteristics, and increase the probability of one-hit kill with the exclusive trick, destruction needle, stab. King Kong is not broken, exclusive to iron dumbbells. It can greatly enhance the double defense and resistance of the extra dumbbells, and break a certain threshold, otherwise it will be difficult to cause damage to it. Ocean Affinity. You have gained the favor of the elf world ocean. The innate affinity of water-type elves is plus 60%, and you can freely breathe and breathe underwater. It can be said that each of these 3 awards is quite extraordinary. Power of Destruction will once again enhance the strong attack power of the Hornbee, and the attached 3 characteristics are almost equivalent to fighting with 3 extremely difficult buffs all the time. Not to mention the utility of enhancing the one-hit kill probability of Extinction Needle, stab. To this day, the killing effect of the Destruction Needle, thorn, has been triggered once, and he has seen its power with his own eyes. This is a terrifying blow that is verified and manifested with the blood of God. King Kong is not bad, is the same. These 2 battles, although it seems that the giant gold monster is not as bright as the performance of the giant needlebee. Most of the time it's just a screen, or a cover. However, as it has not reached the peak first level god ranks, in the 2 battles of gods, it has successively ate the Dark Lugia, and the Black Flash Cracking Seat, 2 of the peak first level gods. 3 exclusive tricks for top legends. In the end, it was just a minor injury. What kind of perverted dual defense and resistance is this? If the giant golden monster and them are the same as the peak first level gods, I am afraid that there is no need to use defensive skills. Standing there to fight hard, the opponent may not be able to break the defense. Tisk tisk tilde, this defense is so powerful. Moreover, thinking about it now, the giant golden monster, as the last main force to join the team, already has the strength of a first level god, so the 4 other than the big needlebee, he selected as the main partner holding the main force. How strong should it be? At the very least, there are 6 first level gods, right? What's more, there is also an ace substitute like Ibrahimovic, and Marshadow, a guardian legend who has set foot in the realm of the gods. Thinking about it this way, I am afraid that the future self is really strong and perverted. No wonder the future self can have that kind of unfettered freedom and arbitrariness. Because, he has become the most free person. Shaking his head, Baizi restrained his thoughts. I turned my attention to the special passive talent, Ocean Affinity. The first is the function of innate affinity of water elemental spirits plus 60%. Reward for such friendliness. Baizi also had precedence. That is the title of Sacred Bird Protector, given by the 3 holy birds before. It can increase the innate favorability of the holy bird group by 60%, as well as the innate favorability of the flying bird elves. Of the value of 60% and what kind of effect it has. However, in addition to Ocean Affinity, Lugia's blessing to Baizi not only increased his water resistance, but also increased the innate favorability of water elves by 30%. Ha! This is fun. He doesn't know exactly what degree of intimacy is 60% and 30%, but adding the two together, 90% of the innate intimacy is bound to be bottomless. Because this intimacy is already very close to full value. It shouldn't be difficult to be a millionaire of the water elves, right? And finally, this ability to breathe freely underwater. Try. Although it was a question, Baizi had already got up and started to undress. Quickly remove the clothes, shoes, elf belt, and even the bridge of the nose, and put them on the clothes piled on Laplace's back. Slightly winked. After a little bit of getting used to it, I re-entered my eyes. 5, 6 feet 1 foot 0, 9, 7, 8 inches, 2, ling, long, the energy perspective of the curtain. He got up and twisted his waist, stretched his legs, pressed his legs, and expanded his chest. After a few movements, he jumped toward the sea in front of him in a standard diving posture. However, after habitually pulling and pulling twice, the slight pressure feeling of entering the water did not come at all, but a sudden pulling feeling came from the back waist. And then, a sense of tension suddenly came. This feeling is... Baizi turned his head with a straight corner of his mouth. As predicted, Laplace, who was holding his trousers at the waist, looked over with a puzzled look, and let out a vague whimper, as if wondering why Baizi couldn't think about it. Baizidong had a black line on his forehead, but looking at Laplace's wet Kazlan's big eyes, he couldn't rebuke anything, so he had no choice but to sigh softly. It's all right, let me go. Come down, I just want to take a swim. 0. Ask for flowers. Laplace looked embarrassed. Then, whimpering, he put Baizi carefully into the water. The moment he entered the water, Baizi felt that the cells in his entire body, up and down, were jubilant. It was as if he had fallen into his mother's arms, giving him an inexplicable confidence. Baizi felt that he could move freely in the water without any restrictions. Laplace, you help me take care of the clothes, and I'll be back when I go. Baizi jumped in the water as a carp king, and jumped in the air with a force out of thin air. After a beautiful arc, it submerged under the water. Not the slightest splash. Full score. All, as expected. He didn't feel the slightest difficulty in breathing underwater, and the procession seemed to be as smooth as an arm, and the surrounding water would not give him the slightest sense of oppression, like a soft embrace surrounding him, give Baizi a sense of security that he has never had on land. It's so comfortable it's like nesting in his own water bed. Let him endure. No, keep thinking to just fall asleep in the embrace of the ocean wandering like this. After a long time, Baizi was awakened by Laplace's urging soft moans. Legs wiggle slightly. Gululu, 2 streams of water suddenly emerged and pushed Baizi to the surface of the sea. Cool. Baizeben wiped the seawater on his face contentedly, and was not in a hurry to climb Laplace's back. He just lay on his back on the sea, following the spiritual current, drifting down toward the city of Lamperch. He can feel the ability of ocean affinity. This is almost no different from the sun of the sea. The sun of the ocean. It can be said that it is quite nice. The only pity is that because of the 2 consecutive battles of gods, not even a single elf could be found in the nearby sea area. This made Baizi think, try 90% of the water elf favorability, what kind of effect can it have, and the idea was directly dead. P.S. You don't need to guess this one. A few. Chapter 149. Go to Yuhong City, strengthen. For full order. When it was close to the early morning, Baizi rushed back to the Ramparch City Hotel. Along the way, countless washed-down urban buildings and automobile debris piled up on the wet road, and countless Alliance support personnel were busy cleaning up under the command of Miss Junsha. Halfway. Baizi was also stopped by an inspector, who checked his hand, the elf picture book that Dr. Kamadagi personally left a message, and then let him go. Step 11 Hotel, Zhongyi, was silent. Therefore, when Baizi's footsteps came, it was very obvious. Baizi, you kid. Dr. Damu, who was wrapped in a blanket and half paralyzed on the chair in the hall with a tired face, looked at the door subconsciously, his white brown and black eyebrows suddenly raised. Dr. Oki. Baizi only had time to nod to Dr. Damu. Because then, a familiar figure flashed in front of him, and the next second, it was full of Shangyu. Natsi, who threw herself in her arms, did not speak. However, with the feeling of 353, feeling the gradual moistening of the chest, and the uncontrollable trembling of the delicate body in the arms, Baizi's expression softened, wrapped around the slender waist, and pressed the palm of his hand on the top of the girl's head, rubbing the other side's little head. He said, "I'm sorry, I made you worry." Natsi's body suddenly tensed. Afterwards, he gradually became paralyzed, and rested his entire body weight in Baizi's arms. After a long time, there was a soft reply. Hiccup. On the side, for some reason, seeing this scene, Dr. Damu suddenly felt a sense of bloating, and he couldn't bear to hiccup. Young people today. Tisk tilde. It's nice to be young. Shaking his head with a sigh, Dr. Omu, who no longer wanted to eat dog food, shook his head with a sigh, got up and walked towards the interior of the hotel. He has been tired for most of the night, and now he has eaten a wave of dog food. He is physically and mentally exhausted, and even Baizi is too lazy to ask what he is doing so late at night. Now, he just wants to sleep to relieve his worries. Early the next morning, Baizi said goodbye to Dr. Omu and Aunt Hanako, and took Natsi away from the Ramperki Hotel, heading to the next destination, Yuhong City. At this time, although the streets of Lampolchi City were still a little wet, the debris generated by the attack of the sea tide had almost been cleaned up. On both sides of the road, there are elves such as strange forces and old builders from time to time, as well as the staff of the Alliance to overhaul the damaged city buildings. Under such an all-out effort, the city of Lamperchi was quickly restored to its original appearance at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. So, this is the real reason why the Elf Alliance is orthodox, and those so-called evil organizations with lofty ideals can only be rats in the gutter. Sigh slightly. Soon, the two left the city. There is no official paved road between Lampolchi and Yuhong, so after the wind speed dog was released, the two plunged headlong into the wild forest between the cities. Prepare to traverse the forest directly to the location of the fourth gym, Yuhong City. On the way, when occasionally encountering some elves in groups or with good strength, Baizi also stopped temporarily and sent the corresponding elves to fight to harvest a wave of experience points. About noon, Baizi found an open space near the water source to camp. After lunch, Baizi glanced at Zoroya, who was shrugging his head, shook his head, and waved at the giant hornbee, who was half relying on the tree trunk with his eyes closed, and said, "Big Needle Bee, come here." Beer tilde. Yujing turned, and in the blink of an eye, the giant needle bee that flashed in front of Baizi stood out of thin air, as if waiting for an order. Don't be so rigid. Baizi lightly smiled and patted the needle arm on the side of the giant needle bee, and while he was thinking, he took out a scarlet light group from the space of the system. Is this the power of destruction? After a little sizing, Baizi stretched out his hand and pushed it, sending the scarlet light group into the body of the giant stinger. The light group entered the body, and the large needle bee subconsciously fluttered its wings, and the whole body was quickly covered with red light like a brand. Beer tilde. The next second, Big Needle Bee let out a painful roar, and was immediately suppressed by him. It looked up at the sky, and it was full of compulsive fighting spirit and excitement in the eyes of the two insects. Pain, tearing, and growing strength. That's all the stingrays are thinking right now. The scarlet imprinted brilliance flowed on its body, like surface like a metal coating, and finally separated, and turned into two streams of light that were wrapped around and engraved on the double needles of the giant needle bee. Immediately afterwards, the big stinger felt a pain like scorching iron torture from its twin needles. The vaguely tadpole-like characters twisted on the double needles, imprinting layers of scarlet and mysterious lines on the double guns. It is different from the conspicuous scene when the Insect King orb was merged before. The change this time was just fleeting. The neighing sound started, and the only remaining red-on brand had disappeared. Except for the faint luster on the surface of the body, there was almost no other change. But if you look closely, you can find that the B-shaped body of the big needle at this time is more fluent, and the double needle has also become a lot stronger. The big needle B closed his eyes and stood still, although only the slightest momentum was revealed, and he was motionless, but it gave people a sense of horror at the back, like a knife's edge. And the strength goes further. It's only one step away from the Quasi-Tianwang peak. Level, Quasi-Tianwang Advanced, Level 58, 99/100. The next step is the iron dumbbells. Baizi turned his gaze to the iron dumbbell who was harassing Laplace by the lake. The silver-white metal body flew up and down. Even if Laplace pretends to take a break and doesn't want to pay attention to you, this guy is still not tired of rubbing on the left and bumping on the right, just like an ADHD child. Compared with the stable giant gold monster, it is almost 108,000 miles away. Iron dumbbells. Iron dumbbells. Iron dumbbells. After shouting 3 times in a row, the iron head of this terribly dangling head plunged into Baizi's chest, and he was almost knocked out of breath by him. 11-1. Picking up this little guy, and after some sermons, seeing that it still has an expression of no concern, Baizi's mouth twitched. Without further ado, I chose to use King Kong is not bad, between direct thoughts. One by one, a golden light group appeared out of thin air, turned into a thick streamer that only Baizi could see, and directly enveloped the iron dumbbell's body. Terry Tilda. He didn't cry like Baizi expected. After a short cry of pain, the iron dumbbell looked at himself with great interest. The layer of steel armor on his body was quickly replaced. The silver, white old shell was removed, and quickly grew a brighter silver armor that was harder and faintly shone with glazed golden light. At the same time, the little guy's system has also become larger visibly to the naked eye. Tailpaws became 1.7s strong and weight gradually increased. Soon, after all the visions dissipated, the reborn iron dumbbell slammed towards the big branch on one side without saying a word. PFF'd, in the next second, the hole will pass through. Level, nascent level 8, 50/100. Good guy, is he so cruel before he reaches the novice level? Baizi's eyes suddenly brightened. Addicted iron dumbbells without drilling holes. Baizi turned his head. He strode forward and took Zoroha, who was secretly looking at him, in his arms. Okay, then it's time for the two of us to have a good chat about your refusal to evolve. P.S. Princess Tilda. Chapter 150. Attack, the Blue Behemoth Beyond Common Sense. For full order. After saying hello to Nazi, Baizi pinched the back of Zoroha's neck and came to a boulder not far from the temporary camp. Sit down with your knees crossed. Putting Zoroha on his lap, Shiro didn't question him right away. Instead, the left hand combs the little guy's hair and claws, and the right hand moves gently, rubbing lightly or heavily on its chin, back and soles. You are carefully performing massage care for Zoroya, and you have gained a little cultivation experience value +10. Open black lens bracket you are careful for. Close black lens bracket. Accompanied by the system beep sound from time to time. After a while, the little guy who was still a little nervous suddenly whimpered, his eyes narrowed slightly, and his expression changed to a happy face. Approximately -7 tilde goo hee hee. Baizi's massage is so comfortable tilde sure enough, I knew that even if I refused to evolve Baizi, I wouldn't be able to blame me. Besides, I haven't enjoyed Baizi's embrace like this for a long time. For a time, Zoroya fell into an unknowable and beautiful imagination. Breathe, breath smoothly. Mouth, corners slightly raised. Gradually, little by little, sinking into a beautiful dream. 02. Seeing this, Baizi's eyes flashed with a hint of helplessness, and his pinching movements stopped, and he was thinking about whether to use his hands to shake the little guy awake. A small claw lifted up, pressing his palm down. "It's Soraya." At this moment, the little guy was looking sleepy, muttering in his mouth, as if he was talking in a dream. Baizi listened carefully. "Woo, woohoo tilde, don't stop xiao bai bai, continue to serve Ben Gong tilde, Baizi." With telepathy on, Baizi can naturally understand Zoroja's meaning. Therefore, for a while, he didn't know how to spit it out. But, xiao bai bai. You are floating, Zoroha. Little guy, come, explain to me, what does xiao bai bai mean? What does Ben Gong mean? Saying that, Baizi picked up Zoroya, who was half asleep and half awake, like kneading dough, and kneaded it ruthlessly. While rubbing, Baizi also scratched the itchy flesh on the little guy's creaking nest. Ying 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 tilde. Zoroha was shaken by the scratch, and rolled around with a smile. Good half sound. After Baizi stopped, Zoroha looked at Baizi with a grunt while combing his hair. However, after Baizi repeated the previous question again, Zoroha, who was still licking his hair, froze in place. Then, the little head turned his head like he was stuck, and looked at Baizi with a face of despair. After confirming that Baizi really heard it, I suddenly felt dizzy, and the society died on the spot. Baizi comforted him for a long time. Zoroa may also feel a little broken. Therefore, when Baizi really asked why it refused to evolve, the answer was very straightforward. Because, if I evolve, I can't walk on Baizi's shoulders, I can't travel together in Baizi's arms, and I can't sit on Baizi's lap and enjoy feeding. So, I don't want to evolve into a Zoroark, okay? In telepathy, Zoroya's delicate Lolita voice was glutinous and whispered. So, is that so? Baizi suddenly didn't know what to say. It turns out that the reason why the little guy is really unwilling to evolve is because he is attached to his love. Could this be caused by him? Baizi was a little dumbfounded. Immediately, he lowered his head and looked at Zoroha. What the little guy's wet eyes showed in his spirit was not stubbornness, but a timid expectation. It looked forward to Baizi's approval of its ideas. However, Baizi knew it. If he doesn't want to, Zoroha will definitely evolve to accommodate his wishes. Then, is he really going to do this? I was hesitant. Baizi laughed at himself. Indeed, the benefits of evolution are self-evident. It is a comprehensive transformation and improvement in terms of strength, 6 dimensions, physical fitness, and so on. Even for some elves, it was the only chance to turn a chrysalis into a butterfly and be reborn. Even if Zoroha is not like this, the benefits of evolution are obvious. 6-dimensional increase by nearly 200. The mastery of skills, physique, and illusion will also be more excellent. But although the benefits are indeed tens of thousands, but this decision, in fact, from the very beginning, he should not hesitate. Zoroa, it doesn't matter, evolved or not, you are my family and my important partner. So it's okay, Zoroha, don't force yourself. Baizi picked up the little guy and put his forehead on Zoroya's furry forehead. His tone was soft and obviously doting. He comforted. Besides, Zoroya is so cute, and I hope that I can accompany me like this forever. Woo tilde. Zoroya suddenly wrinkled a small face, crying and hugging Baizi's face, crying for unknown reasons, with obvious happiness. It's great to meet Baizi. Crybaby tilde. With a light smile, Baizi pulled the little guy off his face, put him in his arms, and lightly tapped Zoroya's little head. In my heart, I suddenly felt relieved. If you don't evolve, you won't evolve. God rewards you for your diligence. Even if it's just Zoroha, I will definitely make you the strongest in the world and won't let you be left behind. Baizi made a contract in his heart that no one knew about. And right now, the rumbling was accompanied by the roaring and shaking of the ground, and for the sake of the smoke and dust, a huge giant slowly stood up from the smoke screen. And accompanied by this is a slightly immature Lolita voice. I didn't expect you, a scumbag, to treat your elves quite well. In that case. Then Miss Ben will be merciful too, just give you a small lesson. During the words, the smoke and dust dissipated. A giant human beast with a body over 4 meters in size, with azure muscles and knots, a long tail and wide jaws, and jagged red bone plates on its head, back and tail appeared in front of Bai Zi. Mighty crocodile. In an instant, Bai Zi recognized the name of the elf that was clearly different from the ordinary crocodile group. After all, it was the 3 water system royal families in the Chengdu area, so he naturally had no reason to not know it. Even if the shape of this powerful crocodile is completely beyond common sense. And at the first moment of recognizing the opposite party, while being alert, under the sunglasses, the white mist like a cloud, in the eyes, slowly and vividly. Chapter 151. Lucky, Conflict. The Fist of the Second God. For full order. Open black lens bracket race. Strong crocodile close black lens bracket. Attribute, water. Characteristic, forced Monty. Level, level 2 God, unstable. Potential, level 3 God, increasing. HP, 85, attack, 105, defense, 100, special attack, 79, special defense, 83, speed, 78. Skills, brute force, tile splitting, infuriating boxing, kicking down, not available except for fighting type moves. Genetic skill, crushing, unavailable. Item, fighting law crystal, absorbing. Open black lens bracket condition, good close black lens bracket. Law comprehension, fighting 60%, unstable, growing. Introduction, inadvertently swallowed the crystal of the fighting system law that was lost after being condensed by the Holy Pillar King. The attributes conflicted and the fusion was not complete. Although it was promoted to the realm of the gods, there were many hidden dangers, impulsive and irritable. All moves outside the department. Pillar King, Regichkas. Interesting. This powerful crocodile is really lucky. The light in Bai Zi's eyes flickered slightly, and when he took the opportunity to pull off his sunglasses, it appeared in the energy perspective of the fundus of his eyes. Dense light spots appeared all over the body of this muscular crocodile. This powerful crocodile has so many weaknesses that it can be called the most elf Bai Zi has ever seen. Even the green caterpillars that swept across the road unintentionally. Never before have there been so many and so densely exposed weaknesses. And, are you from the Joey family? Scumbag, did you misunderstand me? Looking at the miniature pink-haired loli sitting on the shoulders of the powerful crocodile and looking exactly like Miss Joey, Bai Zi asked with a slight frown. The tone is flat. Not too much fear. Not to mention the powerful crocodile in front of him and the little girl who is suspected to be of the Joey family, he did not perceive malice on it. Even if it is malicious. Or as the little girl said at the beginning, thought, to teach herself a lesson. Where is it? A second-level god who was promoted entirely by chance and coincidence. If you want to rely on this to make him round and flat. That, can only say, is thinking too much. Huh. The pink-haired little loli can't see the meekness and softness of the Joey family at all, but instead behaves like a bare child. Between the words, the boss is rude. You deceive Fufu, you are too embarrassed to say that you are not scum. Male. As she said that, she seemed to be out of anger, frowned fiercely and said, today, I am Joey. Ilya will let you remember. Don't worry, looking at Fufu's face and your performance just now, I am the most, and I will make you unable to sleep for 10 years. Shui, come on. The voice fell, followed by Joey. With a wave of Ilya's small hand, the powerful crocodile under her immediately stepped up, and her big fan-like hand grabbed Bai Zi's head down. The young man in front of him actually liked it when he saw it, and he didn't really want to attack him. However, since it is the order of the Little Master, it should respect itself. Because of its life, it can have such achievements as it is now, all thanks to the Little Master. Anyway, it's not to kill you. At most, I'll take it lightly. The crocodile was thinking about it, and the strength of the shot was reduced by 3 points. But even with unused skills, the strength has dropped sharply. But this palm wave still brought Baizi a strong pressure like the top of Mount High. Baizi's face turned cold. No matter what the reason is, since you have done something to yourself, then this matter can't be considered a good thing. What's more, Baizi, who is a master of kicking skills, can clearly distinguish the power of this slap. If ordinary people take it seriously, I am afraid that it will not break a few bones, it will not be able to withstand it. Mashado, Thunder Fist. Stepping on one by one while Baizi gave an order in a deep voice, he stepped on his feet and jumped to the rear. And the moment he jumped away, mild tilde. A Dao carrying a petite figure wrapped in black mist suddenly emerged from Baizi's shadow, and on his clenched fist, a golden electric current was flowing. From the bottom to the top, it slammed into the jaw of the powerful crocodile. Fuel consumption heal, Thang Long Chen. Bang! The dull blowing sound of stinging, accompanied by bursts of lightning, exploded in the jaws of the powerful crocodile. Wu tilde. The powerful crocodile suddenly raised its head, and a slight dizziness made it loose its whole body, and coupled with the numbness of the electric current, it endured. No, stop, dang, and took a few steps back. Barely stand still. Yeah, Joey sitting on its shoulders. Ilya even exclaimed, and hugged the neck of the powerful crocodile tightly, for fear of falling. Bang! In the sound of heavy steps, the claws penetrated into the soil layer, and the powerful crocodile with its body bowed back slowly stood upright. Two groups of rough air sounded like a whistle, and a powerful crocodile with red eyes jumped over a distance of hundreds of meters, and put Joey, who was a little dizzy on his shoulders. Elijah let go. Subsequently, bang, along with the obvious shaking of the ground, the muscle knots, the giant beast shadows like water blue demons fell from the sky, and the clasped fists were surging like arrogance. The fighting factor frenzy like weaving. Carrying gusts of wind howling. In a bang, he smashed straight down. Brute force. Baizi's face was even colder. This blow did not leave his hand, and the mad, surging fighting energy was only condensed in the slightest. Although this will weaken a lot in terms of damage, the condensed skills are not much better than the newborn elves. But, with only the surging, like fighting element, and its powerful punching power. Under this blow, I am afraid that within a radius of more than 10 meters, there is no one to live except Masha Duo. Baizi, Nazi, Cerulean, and a group of elves also arrived at this moment. Mashado, go all out. Absorb the punch. Give it back double. Baizi's watch Goodly How was unprecedentedly calm. After he quickly gave the order, he didn't need to say more, just relying on eye contact. Chilori understood instantly. Chiru tilde Kua. The lavender light in the eyes was bright, and the turbulent thought force immediately pulled everyone and the elves except Marshado, including Baizi, and floated up into the sky above the forest. Mild tilde. At the same time, with vigor surging all over his body, Marshado, who was rapidly incarnating in a full-strength posture in the ray of light, jumped head-on without showing weakness. On the small fist, a black energy stance suddenly rose, and it slammed into the hammer, like fists of the powerful crocodile that slashed down. P.S. Go ahead, OK tilde. Chapter 152, Fight and Win. Mutation. For full order. Big and small, the moment the fists collided with each other, a strange sound suddenly came out. The black energy stance was like a living creature, and it quickly absorbed the powerful crocodile. The fighting factor of fist on was transmitted to Marshado. Mild tilde. In the next second, Mashadu's whole body vigor soared, and the surging fighting elements surged out like flames. And in this unforgettable moment, Marshado made a push. Suspended the petite body upside down, kicked up, and stomped heavily on the face of the powerful crocodile. Boom! The sound of a big drum like Hong Zhong suddenly rang out, and the force absorbed from the fighting attribute factor of the powerful crocodile itself, as well as the sudden increase of the double return move, completely poured on the top door of the powerful crocodile. A ring of gas explosions that were almost as real as they came in contact with each other rushed in all directions. The dust on the ground was swept up into the sky by the surging wind, turned into a smokescreen rising from all sides. The gust of wind blew the surrounding flowers and trees, and even boulders and trees with unstable ground were blown up from the ground, tumbling and flying into the distance. And as a powerful crocodile that directly took this blow, it was directly blown up by this powerful blow, rolled in midair, and flew upside down with vigor. Laplace, Ice, Stingray. Baizi 353, who was suspended in midair, waved Nazi to send away the wild elves that were affected nearby. His eyes were calm, and he gave the order concisely. When Nazi heard the words, she stretched out her hand, and the flashing green psychic power was immediately wrapped, and she took the wild elves who looked panic-stricken in mid-air out of Cerulean's lavender psychic power hood. The other side. Wu tilde. After hearing Baizi's instructions, Laplace, who was also held up in midair by the lavender thought force, hummed slightly. In an instant, a mish ice flow appeared in the air. Beer tilde. The big stinger rushed forward, and the cross arm was drawn forward. Suddenly, the flat-shaped ice flows flew out, heading towards the direction of Machado. Tread. Machado, who fell in the air, stepped on the ice flows that came from the lacing. His feet exerted force, and in the shattered ice chips, he used his strength to pounce on the powerful crocodile again. Ah! The powerful crocodile that flew upside down had slightly pale eyes, nosebleeds, and left an obvious depression on the face. With the blessing of the absorption fist and the multiplication of double return, this blow is indeed strong enough. But more importantly, this kick just hit his heart. This made its tough epidermis almost so strong that a sword would be hard to hurt, as well as its skin appearance, that ACBH, fighting factor protection that could be called the power of God, were all broken by a single blow. It hurts. It hurts. This pain, which he had not tasted for a long time, made the crocodile even more violent. The pale eyes gradually turned back, and strands of crimson gradually came up. And in the powerful crocodile in the rage, regained consciousness. And gradually control the body, physical mobility. Thong speed dog, howl. Ow tilde. The wolf-like long howl suddenly rose, and in an instant, an inexplicable pulling force appeared on the body of the powerful crocodile, causing it to gradually regain control of the body and the body. And the next second, Machado, Kixing's legs, mild tilde. Accompanied by Baizi's cold drink, a murmur filled with icy coldness suddenly came. Immediately afterwards, the surging punches precisely hit the forehead, shoulders, chest and abdomen of the strong crocodile, forming a 7-star character, and the strong crocodile that had been flying upside down was fixed in the air. In. Subsequently, whoosh one by one, a pitch-black phantom mixed with greenery rushed into the sky. A full leg kicked on the 7-star character floating on the body of the powerful crocodile. Bang tilde. As if hitting a real object, a flame, light green flame instantly invaded and exploded. Through this blow, the violent and giant force that Machado carried was completely poured out on the body of the crocodile, and it was accompanied by a strong explosive impact, forming a second terrifying thrust. The white, light beam, that turned into an almost real substance completely drowned the crocodile. The air was continuously pushed forward, forming a circle of sonic boom clouds, with the body of the powerful crocodile going straight down, and smashed to the ground fiercely. The earth shattered inch by inch, collapsed or rose, causing a large range of terrain changes. Moreover, the strong force poured out all around with the moment when the powerful crocodile fell to the ground. Among the smoke screens, the grass clippings, trees, rocks, and even rivers in a radius of nearly 100 meters were completely shattered and exploded, overturning more than 3 feet. Everything around him was in ruins. Was directly razed to the ground. You commanded Machado to leapfrog and defeated the powerful crocodile, and you have gained a little. Battle experience plus 60. Strength plus 1. Machado level plus 1. Absorption punch proficiency. Proficiency plus 5. Double return proficiency. Proficiency plus 5. Kixing soul repelling leg proficiency. Experience plus 5. Your wind speed dog assists to defeat the strong crocodile, and you get a little gain. Wind speed dog experience value plus 70. Roar proficiency. Proficiency plus 7 with the continuous prompt sound of the system, starting. Next second. Marshado, who deftly turned over and fell down, suddenly condensed, and entered a small stage upwards, officially stepping into the third level God Intermediate level 1 level. Third level God Intermediate level 93, 25 100ths. And then, the wind speed dog who didn't know when to disappear rushed back like a streamer, put down the one in his mouth, and Joey, who was fainted. Elijah. Ow tilde. He raised his neck and howled. His aura also skyrocketed, reaching the Champion Intermediate level. Champion Intermediate level 74, 69 100ths. Not bad. Slowly falling from mid-air, Baizi nodded with satisfaction. Regardless of the process, but in terms of results, it is indeed a gratifying thing. Afterwards, Baizi glanced at the little Joey who was curled up beside him, still shivering in a coma, frowning slightly, just as he was about to say something. Blue, lucky tilde. 1, just following behind the crowd, Gili Egg suddenly squeezed out in panic, and threw herself at Joey, who was unconscious. Beside Ilya, she looked anxious and a little overwhelmed. Gili Egg, you know this bear, little guy? Baizi asked hesitantly, and then, his mind was like lightning and flint, and things were connected in series. Wait, this little guy said, Fufu, shouldn't it be you, Gili Egg? Tilde, circle dot operator x circle dot operator winking face. Lucky tilde. Gili Egg lowered his head with tears in his eyes. Because of his own reasons, Baizi was in danger. For this kind of thing, it simply sums up all the responsibilities on his own head, and blames himself extremely. It's okay, Gili Egg, it's not you. Seeing this, Baizi stepped forward with a light smile to comfort him. But he was not finished. Whoosh! Accompanied by the extremely heavy sound of the breaking wind, the mighty crocodile, which should not have sobered up so quickly, rushed in front of Baizi, wrapped in the strong wind. His body was covered in blood, and his chest was a huge blue monster with a groove the size of the mouth of a bull. Gloomy, pale eyes. Muscle knotted right arm raised high. Like a knife, he headed towards Baizi's top door and beheaded. P.S. Continue, choo choo tilde. Chapter 153, Zoroark. We meet again, split empty seat tilde please order all. Baizi. Beer. Ow. Lucky. Terry. In his ears were Nazi and Cherulian's slightly changed voices, and out of the corner of his eyes, he saw a group of elves who were madly rushing towards him holding them. Baizi's eyes were also tightened. The strong sense of crisis made his brain at this time like a needle-piercing tilde tingling. Subconsciously, he raised his waist and abdomen, and his legs slammed on the ground to burst back. But no matter how fast Baizi, Nazi and the elves reacted, it was too late to face this ferocious blow that was so close. And just at this juncture, Poochie one by one, the friction sound of energy piercing the air exploded from the sky. Immediately after that, there was the soaring and domineering voice of the dragon's roar. Roar tilde. The sound wave oscillated, resounding through the sky, and a black dragon shadow shining with green light was also accompanied by it, pouring down from the top of the sky in the sky. It brought bursts of gust of wind, like an afterimage, whistling past Baizi's ears. With one claw, he pressed it on the face of the powerful crocodile. Take it straight for hundreds of meters, and slam it into the ground. Bang ye, the ground suddenly shook violently. The impact, shock ripples gushed out from the center like a tsunami, overwhelmingly pressing in all directions. Wherever he passed, sand and stones flew all over the sky, and trees were uprooted. In the next second, Baizi, who was pulled out dozens of meters by a group of elves on the left and right 3 floors, was also submerged by the gust of wind and dust, and disappeared in a chaotic air pressure storm. This is. Baizi's expression was stunned. When he subconsciously wanted to get rid of the smoke and dust, he found that there was a gorgeous bright green honeycomb shield in front of him. It completely covered all the smoke and dust explosions on the periphery. Divine shield. Baizi raised his eyebrows slightly. It was not the first time he had seen this thing, and he recognized it in an instant. But still waiting for him to think about it. Ow. In his arms, his eyes were firm, and Zoroha, who seemed to have made a decision, suddenly jumped into the air. At this moment, it was in midair. Accompanied by bursts of low roars, white light bloomed. The silhouette of Zoroha in the ray of light continued to grow and elongate, and the posture that was originally lying on the ground turned into a human standing. When the light dissipated, a human-shaped demon fox with crimson hair on its head, covering its back like a long braid, appeared in the field. The sharp claws were scarlet as blood. And near the end of the long, fluffy, bushy mane, there is a blue rosary-like object resembling a flower. Eyebrows, mouth and corners are also outlined with a slightly bewitching bright red color. It looks extraordinarily enchanting and full of evil. On the whole, the evolution of Zoroark, just the change in temperament and appearance, seems to be a cute little loli who has grown into a charming and beautiful person with a graceful body. Zoroa. No, Zoroark. Baizi's expression was stunned, but he didn't step forward immediately, because he didn't know exactly what mood Zoroark was in to evolve. Having some guesses made him even more hesitant. What's more, the elves' temperament and other aspects will have great changes after evolution. He didn't know if rushing forward would affect Zoroark, who had just evolved and whose mood might not have completely stabilized. However, subconsciously, the unseen brilliance in Baizi's eyes suddenly appeared. The next second, Zoroark's new data came into view. Race, Zoroark. Attribute, evil. Characteristic, illusion, exclusive. Level, Gym Beginner, level 39, 99/100. Potential, Quasi-God. HP, 60, Attack, 105, Defense, 60, Special Attack, 125, 120, Special Defense, 60, Speed, 105. Exclusive skill, Diablo Blast. Skills, Shadow Key, Street Trial, Quick Return, Grab, Stare, Unreasonable, Claw Grinding, Catch, Ghost Face, Provocation, Shoot Down, Fake Cry, Meditation, High Speed Move. Close Black Lens Bracket. Genetic Skills, Imitate, Supernatural Power. Props, Black Eye Sockets. Open Black Lens Bracket Status, Perfect Close Black Lens Bracket. Introduction. Extremely talented, his mastery of illusion is far better than Zoroark of his family, and he can even deceive the various senses of humans and other elves to achieve certain substantial damage, although it is not as profound as the background Cerulean, who directly jumped from the elite high level to the quasi-king, but Zoroark still relied on the power of evolution to officially enter the gym level sequence. 0. Ask for flowers. It even came up later, surpassing Laplace, who was 1 to 1, and reached level 39, which was only one step away from the middle-level gymnasium. Baizi. Just when Baizi hesitated, the familiar voice of Yuji suddenly sounded in his mind. Afterwards, he saw Zoroark approaching gently with catwalk, his arms wrapped around Baizi's shoulders. His tone was calm with a hint of pampering. In the future, I will protect you. Baizi's mouth twitched, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Until he couldn't control his expression any longer. Good guy, this is all of a sudden. On the side, Cerulean's stubble squeezed tightly, resisting the surging power in his heart, so he didn't paste the magic leaves that had been brewed in his heart on Zoroark's face. However, what she didn't notice was that all these movements were caught in Zoroark's eyes, like the corners of the lips painted with bright red lip gloss, and suddenly ticked. At this time, as the smoke and dust gradually dissipated, in the very center of the exposed, barren, cracked semi-circular pothole, in the bright green fluorescence rising little by little. Slowly, slowly, the slender, jet-black dragon that exited the super-evolutionary state exerted force with one claw, pulling the disfigured crocodile with white eyes and twisted body out of the hole. The dragon body meanders and approaches. Then, he casually threw it not far from Baizi's body. One by one, all the elves suddenly looked nervous and stopped in front of Baizi's body, their whole bodies tense. Not only because of the strong crocodile who had woken up once before, but also because of this only the unintentional spread of the dark dragon, divine power. Only Baizi pushed away the elves with a relaxed look. A casual glance at the powerful crocodile. Raising his eyebrows slightly, he stepped forward with a chuckle, and came to the front of the dark dragon, and said, "Meet again, split empty seat." A few. Chapter 154. The Wrath of Rejichkas, Small Punishment and Great Commandment. The black flash cracked the empty seat at an extremely fast speed and skipped Baizi's whole body, only then did he retract his gaze and respond slightly. Then, seemingly unintentionally, he explained, what drove it to act just now was the residual will of the crystallization of the internal fighting system law. I have cut it off, and it can't wake up for the time being. Oh, Baizi's eyes lit up. In fact, he didn't care too much about his own safety. As a top legend, the black flash cracking empty seat is on the side, not to mention the state of this powerful crocodile is already near death. Even if it is really doing something wrong, I am afraid that it will not be able to turn any waves. Therefore, Baizi naturally would not worry about his own safety. On the contrary, he was very interested in the residual will of the crystallization of the fighting law, that black flash cracked empty seat said. 353. The residual will of the crystallization of the fighting system law. Baizi's eyes were slightly blue, and he immediately asked aloud, "Can you talk about it specifically?" From the performance after the previous invitation and the timely rescue this time, Baizi could clearly feel the kindness of this black flashing Risikuza to him. Therefore, when facing the empty seat of Black Flash, he deliberately used a rather familiar tone. I want to test out how much tolerance this top legend has for himself. After all, in Baizi's view, the grace of healing comes first, the admiration for the battle comes after, and this time, such an active rescue. In terms of favorability, the Black Flash cracking seat must have a 60-70% appearance to himself, right? And next. The performance of the Black Flash cracking empty seat indeed verified Baizi's idea. Of course, accompanied by the sound of a slightly ethereal and beautiful voice, the Black Flash cracked the empty seat dragon body winding, as if there was substance in the air, it was lifted and prostrate in the void. With a hint of lazy telepathy, it slowly emerged from the bottom of everyone's heart. The so-called law crystallization, in fact, can be regarded as the most direct manifestation of the attribute law. Different from the artificially condensed blood of law, or the secondary law artifacts, derived from natural or unnatural sources, the birth of law crystals generally means stepping into the fall of existence in the realm of gods. There was a wisp of understanding in Baizi's eyes. Isn't the evil law crystal in his hand the only substance left behind after the fall of Dark Lugia? However, General, Baizi raised his eyebrows slightly, and immediately said, "May I think that there are unusual ones?" Of course you can. A glimmer of admiration flashed in the eyes of the Black Flash crack Kongza, because there is indeed another way to create a law crystal. Baizi's eyes flickered, and at this moment, the words in the introduction column on the attribute panel obtained from the previous exploration of the powerful crocodile suddenly appeared in his mind. Ellipsis. Inadvertently swallowed the crystal of fighting law that was lost after being condensed by the Holy Pillar King. Condensed. Lost. Baizi's thoughts flew, but he didn't interrupt. At this moment, the Black Flash cracked the empty seat, which was still continuing to speak, with a somewhat inexplicable voice. That is, by using his own perception of the law of attributes, forcibly condensing the crystals of the law of condensation outside the body. There are very few people who can do this in this world, and there is only one person who can do this. From ancient times to the present, there is only one existence. The King of Pillars, Regichkas. And, this isn't the first time it has done so. The black flash cracked the empty seat said this. Here, Byzie's mind suddenly flashed some information like lightning. Regiloc. Regay. Regis Kilu. 3 holy pillars. No, and Legelegy and Regidorigo. Could it be? Byzie's eyes were slightly opened, and he looked directly at the black flash cracking empty seat. Is that the crystal of the law of the fighting system? Is it a sacred object condensed by the holy pillar King Regichkas to make the 6th holy pillar? It should be. Apart from it, there is no other top legend who will do such a thankless thing. Black flash split empty seat affirmed. So. Byzie frowned slightly. The so-called residual will of the crystallization of the fighting law is actually the residual will of the newborn holy pillar. Although there is nothing wrong with your understanding, it is not accurate. Korakuza shook his head and retorted 0. Oh, how do you say it? Byzie raised his brows, a little puzzled. Sacred Pillar King Regichkas thought that to create a new sacred pillar, 3 conditions need to be met. The crystallization of the law, the property substance sufficient to bear the crystallization of the law, and finally, in the fabricated body of the sacred pillar, inject spiritual power and life energy. The thing, West in its body should be contaminated with Regigigas, angry will. Thinking about it, it should be that Regichkas was interrupted by some other existence when he made a new sacred pillar, right? Otherwise, with the good-natured temperament of Regichkas, it is very difficult to generate such anger, and even the condensed fighting system law crystals are stained with this almost inextinguishable will of anger. The tone of the black flash cracked the empty seat is inexplicable. But I don't know if it was Byzie's illusion. He always felt that he could hear a hint of eagerness to try from the words of the black flash cracking empty seat. That's right. The black flash cracked the empty seat suddenly raised head. Dragon Claw Bluff. The invisible airflow surged for a while, dragging the comatose crocodile directly to the side. Although the fighting law crystal in this guy's body is far from the one in your arms, how do you say it? Is also the top-level law fetish. When I help you clear the residual will from it. Whether it's for the little guy hidden under the soles of your feet to improve his understanding of the rules of fighting, or to feed a new fighting spirit, it's a good choice. How is it? Let me help you with a small punishment and a big commandment. You shouldn't have any opinions, right? Ox Zero winking face. Byzedian's eyes brightened. What opinion could he have? Of course there is no opinion. Well, then I'll trouble you. Cracked seat. The smile on Byzie's face seemed particularly sincere at this moment. Chapter 155. Token, black flash cracking empty seat. Don't be stingy to use it. For full order. Seeing Byzie's response, the black flash cracking the empty seat is no nonsense, and immediately the dragon's claws buckled, and the fluorescent green light immediately washes up on the body of the strong crocodile. Gradually, dots of tan light ooze from all over the crocodile's body. It turned into strands and gathered in the dragon claws of the black flash cracking empty seat. In the end, it condensed into a slightly incomplete brown diamond spar. Crystal of Fighting Laws, the top-level magical artifact, which allows elves to improve their understanding of fighting laws without any side effects. Note: the process is irreversible, please choose the correct successor. The process is irreversible. Looking at the data panel that appeared in his eyes and the obvious defects on the spar, Byzie raised his eyebrows slightly. This, irreversible, it seems, it should be said to be consumption. Slightly winked. Byzie's eyes swept away, and he looked to the side by the empty seat of the black flash crack and threw it to the ground on the body of the powerful crocodile O2. The starry blue pupils flickered. All of a sudden, race, strong crocodile. Attribute, water. Characteristic, forced Monty. Level 3 God Elementary, level 80, 0/100. Potential, champion. HP, 85, attack, 105, defense, 100, special attack, 79, special defense, 83, speed, 78. Skills, brute force, tile splitting, infuriating boxing, kicking down. Genetic skill, crushing. Open black lens bracket condition, good close black lens bracket. Law comprehension, fighting department 0.1%, remaining. Introduction. The almost invincible crocodile in the championship stage. After the conflict of laws and forced stripping, the road ahead is almost locked, unless the special power of life similar to the flame of Hwang Nirvana cuts the marrow, or swallows it. Higher level law crystallization, otherwise there is no hope of further progress in life, but without the influence of fighting law crystallization, other attributes of skills can already be learned. Tisk tisk tilde. Baizei sneered with an unintelligible face. The third-level god who stepped into the realm of the gods was evaluated as invincible at the championship stage, and was still, almost, invincible. One can imagine what this powerful crocodile has become now. Not only that, the method of wanting to be cured or promoted again is also extremely pitiful. First of all, how much power is comparable to the flame of Ho-Oh Nirvana in the spirit world? As far as Baizhi knows, this is only the place of Carlos, the light of Xerneas, who is known as the god of life. Thinking, not to mention the difficulty of finding Ho-Oh or Xerneas, it's basically a dragon that doesn't see the end. Even if you find it, why do you ask other top legends to cut the marrow for you? Is your face big enough? Then, let's talk about swallowing the crystals of higher level laws. The original fighting law crystals are considered to be lower level legends and second level gods. If you are more advanced, you must need top level legends to match the law crystals of first level gods. The crystallization of this level of law, I am afraid that Arceus may not be able to rub it out casually. And the only way to be more realistic is to, just like Baizhi, go kill a top legend in the realm of the first level gods, and use the disappearance of the other party to obtain the crystals of higher level laws. Good guy, this is even more unrealistic. Are you, a championship stage, almost, invincible third level god, looking for trouble with a first level god? I'm afraid I don't know how to write dead words. So, all in all, this powerful crocodile is helpless. Well, it can't be said that it is hopeless. After all, it is a third-level god who is almost invincible as a champion, and his strength is enough to compare to the main force of a champion trainer. What's more, after this incident, the restriction on using only fighting skills was lifted. Therefore, it can be regarded as a blessing out of misfortune. 1_1. Baizhi scolded in his heart. At this moment, the black flash cracking empty seat has already through the condensed fighting system law crystal. Pa! Baizhi raised his hand to catch it. Then, he felt that the touch in his palm was a little strange. Just about to check it out. I will take a break in the ozone layer in the Kanto region recently. If you encounter something, you can call me with a token. If you encounter a strong enemy, such as a top legend, don't be stingy with it. Because that's the best thing for me, love. The stern but beautiful telepathy of the black flash cracking seat reverberated in the air, and the scarlet eyes stared at Baizhi's face. Then, the body swayed straight into the sky, and for a moment, disappeared between the layers of clouds. The token. Looking at the clear sky, for a long time, Baizhi lowered his head and spread his palms. In the palm of his hand, in addition to the fighting law crystal, there is a small and delicate black scale lying quietly in the palm of his hand. The dark scales have red edges, which are somewhat similar to the patterns on the body of the black flash crack. In other words, this is the scale of the black flash crack empty seat. The inverse scales of the black glitter rift. You can use this object to call the black glitter riser's arrival under any sky. This is the proof of friendship between the two of you. Proof of friendship. Slightly clenched, feeling the firm but warm touch in the palm of his hand. 353 Baizhi's mouth couldn't help but rise slightly. Well, it's time for us to continue on our way. For a moment, Baizi put away the spar and scales and looked at a group of elf partners with different expressions. When he came into contact with the auspicious egg, he looked at the unconscious little Joey and rubbed his short hands in a tangled state. Immediately, he stepped forward with a smile. He rubbed the top of Gili's egg slippery, Nenen's head twice, and said with a chuckle, "Don't worry, even if I look at you and Joey Leon's face, I won't treat this little guy. It's like this. At most, a small punishment and a big admonition." Saying that, Baizi squinted his eyes and turned to Joey, who is, in a coma, on the ground. Elijah swept away. As predicted. Small punishment and big admonition came out. Joey was lying on the ground. Elijah felt as if she had been electrocuted, her whole body twitched and shivered. Elijah. Dangerous. P.S. Continue, Kiki Tilda. Chapter 156. The Battle of Double Dragons. Magic Nini Tilda, please ask for full order. Kanto region, the ozone layer above the stratus clouds. At this moment, one black and one green, the two are similar in appearance, and the two members of the same clan are facing each other in the surging clouds. Ow! Accompanied by the dragon roar that stuns the world, the green fissure seat is surrounded by layers of red light. The red light is like blood, with a desperate attitude like the enemy, doesn't deceive people too much. Following the mysterious trajectory, cruising. Reverse scale preparation. The dragon dance is also quietly running. No wonder it was not careful. As a fellow clan, the green cracking seat is too aware of the strength and style of this little girl who is only a fraction of her age. At a young age, his strength is like riding a rocket, surpassing most of his family and seniors, not to mention this. Without the help of the seven-colored meteorite, containing super evolutionary energy, you can carry out super evolution alone and learn to add the finishing touch. This will be put aside for now. The same as a superior, even a top legend, all of which have a profound background, but it can still fight beyond the ranks. This genius is not incomprehensible. But if it has something to do, it will fight with the dragon, and when it starts, it will be a life and death battle. Who can stand it? Therefore, to be honest, although it is in the prime of life, and its strength is also considered to be the top of the group in the cracking seat, but I really don't want to have any conflict with this crazy girl like a martial arts madman. Otherwise, with its stinky temperament that is in the same vein as the crackling seat, other than the head of the clan, whoever has entered the territory of his own territory for so long, it is also the first to spray it with a dragon meteor. But if you don't want conflict, you don't want conflict. That doesn't mean it's muddy. Think about it. You were originally in the ozone layer under your jurisdiction, swallowing meteorites and humming songs, and suddenly you were woken up by a dragon-tailed Dobby Pocket. Then, the other party said to you with a natural look, "Your entire jurisdiction is temporarily owned by me. As for yourself, stay in another place for the time being." Can you bear it? The Sacred Pillar King couldn't bear it. But it bears it for now. There is no way. I can't beat it, I can only endure it. As early as more than 10 years ago, it was no longer an opponent in the normal state of the opponent. What's more, right now, Fang Fang's aura is condensed, and his strength is obviously improved. Not long ago, he had witnessed the battle with the top legendary King Ho. Possible. So, don't look at it as a life-threatening posture. In fact, it really doesn't want to fight such a losing battle. Putting on this posture is just trying to tell the opposite party to retreat. But obviously, even as a member of the same clan, this cracked seat stationed in the ozone layer of the Guangdong area still misunderstood the nature of the black flash cracked seat. So, you don't want to let very well. Through a special telepathy, the cold voice of the black flash cracking seat reverberated in the void. The next second, don't wait for the other party to reply at all. Roar. Along with the tyrannical and awe-inspiring dragon roar, the sky was stunned, and the colorful light of evolution suddenly surrounded the whole body. When the light dissipated, the pitch-black super void seat stood in the void. This is so special. The green cracking seat's face turned black, but the green light arrows rushing from the corner of his eyes made it impossible for him to care at all. Roar. Therefore, I had to bite the bullet and end the stacking buff blessing of Dragon Dance. With the blessing of the inverse scales, in the mad, crazy roar, a speed trick that wrapped around the blood mist was attacked. Dragon Dance plus inverse scale plus divine speed versus the finishing touch. Can't beat it, can't beat it. However, there is no precedent for them to flee without a fight. Boom, all of a sudden, the clouds in the sky rolled back. And here, the Battle of Sangyang has fully unfolded. On the other hand, Baizi is simply facing Joey. After Ilya carried out a small punishment and a big admonition, she simply cleaned up and prepared to continue to set off, heading in the direction of Yuhong City. Just as they were about to leave, headed by an overlord flower, a large group of elves of various colors surrounded them. Some of them were holding tree fruits that they had just collected, while others were holding some treasured treasures. Gold beads or evolution stones. There are even some keychains that humans have discarded in the wild. The elves in order, under the command of the elite-level overlord flower, piled the tree fruit and treasures into 2 piles. Then, Johnny looked at Baizi with anticipation. Hearing Baizi's question, these elves nodded and called out one by one. Seeing this scene, Baizi was also a little amused. He crouched down, looked at the overlord flowers and asked, "Why, is this the parting gift you gave us?" Ga tilde, Wong tilde, just. Baizi's heart warmed. Elves are such simple creatures, even if things happen because of themselves, as long as someone treats them well, they will spare no effort to repay him. Some elves will guard them for a lifetime as long as they identify a master, and even willing to practice their lives for the trainer's words. That's why. In this world above the power of elves, elves can live in peace with humans. The reason for even being completely human-dominated. East, West, I'll take some of it. Baizi didn't completely reject the good intentions of the elves, even though the most valuable things in it were only a few gold beads. But in addition to their own value, the value of these East, West also contains a piece of the mind of the elves. Really? Seeing that Baizi accepted their gifts, all the elves jumped and cheered happily. However, Baizi wouldn't take it for nothing. After picking and training a few tree fruits, evolution stones, and gold beads, he began to take out boxes of energy cubes from his backpack. There are all kinds of flavors and attributes. Although there is no top-quality energy cube in it, it is also made by Baizi's daily practice. When it comes to appearance and utility, it is not inferior to the high-end products on the market. Of course, in terms of value, it may not be as good as a few gold beads. But for these elves, these high-quality energy cubes are not only easier to satiate, but also more beneficial to their growth. And strength is the capital of these elves to survive in the wild. Therefore, the exchange of gifts between Baizi and the elves is actually a win-win situation for both parties. Come on, this is yours, and yours. A few fast-talking family members held the box in their hands, and after taking a piece and tasting it, their eyes suddenly lit up. These things are all worthless snacks, but it's not easy to eat too much. Just eat one every day, you know. Baizi distributed the energy cubes according to taste and attributes, then smiled. Exhorted. Kuga tilde. Ya tilde. Although at the level of these elves, it is still impossible to perceive the changes in the subtle attribute factors in the body like the king-level overlord elves, so as to understand the benefits brought by advanced energy blocks. But it's just the deliciousness that comes with these energy cubes that Baizi has personally prepared. Just let them be, baby. At the moment, it was tightly holding the energy cubes in his hands in his arms, as if he was afraid of being robbed by others. This made Baizi's face Junin. No, a smile rose. On the other hand, Nazi's lips pursed slightly, and a touching arc also appeared quietly. At this time, Mu tilde, accompanied by a slightly immature voice, a petite humanoid elf wearing a dark blue twisted clown hat and a pink body stepped out of a kind of elf with cute steps. Oh, Monini, Bai blinked, recognizing this uncommon superpower, Goblin Elf Dual Elf Race. This is the unevolved form of the Magic Wall Doll. In the Galar region, there are also ice and superpower double-type Magic Wall Dolls that can evolve into ice dolls. This little guy has a very clear goal. It directly crossed Bai. In 3 steps and 2 steps, he ran to Natsi's body, and then, with a neat somersault, he rushed towards Natsi's arms. Goodly how! Natsi was slightly stunned, and subconsciously stretched out her hand, and the fluorescent green light suddenly rose, pinning this little guy who was throwing her arms in the air. Open black lens bracket race. Monini close black lens bracket. Attribute: Super Energy, Fairy, Spirit. Feature: Filter. Level: Novice, Intermediate, Level 15, 2100s. Potential: Quasi-King. Open black lens bracket. Close black lens bracket. Introduction: A female divinity, with decent talent, strong imitation ability, and a unique talent for the ability to set up barriers in nature. Take back your gaze. Seeing that Natsi and Monini kept their eyes wide open, Bai suddenly laughed and suggested, "This little guy's talent is not bad, how about it, do you want to give it a try?" Try it. Submissive. Nazi was stunned when she heard the words, she pursed her lips in a daze, and when she saw that she caught her line of sight, she immediately responded to her with a well-behaved smiling Monini. The corners of the mouth are also not raised slightly. Chapter 157. Arriving in Yuhong City, the injured Baifeng incarnates. For full order. After saying goodbye to the wild elves who were reluctant to part, Bai Zinazi and the others continued their journey, heading towards Yuhong City. And behind the 2 people, was Joey, who was covering his buttocks with tears in his eyes, lying on the back of the wind speed dog. Elijah. Lucky Tilda. Beside her, Gili Egg stepped on her little feet and comforted her softly. However, after hearing the consolation of Gili Egg, Joey, Ilya's expression became even more aggrieved. Even Fufu, do you think it's all my fault? Yes, I did ask Shui to teach him a lesson to that scum. Joey. Ilya's expression seemed to be dark, but then, her face was flushed with blood, and she said with a bit of gnashing teeth, "But he can't hit people there." Speaking of this, Joey. Ilya suddenly paused, secretly glanced at Baizi's back who was walking in front, and shrank her head subconsciously. His voice was obviously several decibels lower and continued, "That is a bad guy, but I didn't expect to hurt him at all. And Shui, I didn't even think that Shui became like that. Thinking, I'm sorry, Fufu. But, Gili Egg was a little sloppy for a while. It doesn't really care what that big crocodile with high self-esteem and stinky temper turns into. Even, for the 353 powerful crocodile that almost hurt Baizi, it forcibly endured it, and did not put a bomb in the opponent's mouth. But for the little Joey who grew up together, although he also has blame in his heart. But as a girl, it is indeed embarrassing to be treated like that in the eyes of countless elves under the big public. However, Lucky Tilda. Gili Egg still understands the truth of the water splashed by the married daughter, so even if he knows that there is something wrong with Baizi's method, he still dances and argues for it. What do you mean by me, what I suggested? I didn't want to beat him personally, I didn't want to beat him. Lucky Tilda. Well, can you blame me for not making it clear? Fufu, I didn't expect you to change your mind so quickly. Humph Tilda. I'll ignore you. Joey. Ilya's cheeks suddenly bulged, like a puffer fish. She turned her head angrily, and buried her little head in the dense sideburns of the wind speed dog under her. Baizi, who was walking in front, shook his head amusingly. With such a distance, for Baizi, whose overall physique is far beyond human, how to lower the volume is actually not much different from speaking in his ear. However, is it possible to communicate with Gili Eggs completely without barriers, because they are familiar enough with each other, or is there any special reason? Such thoughts flashed across Baizi's mind, but they were quickly put behind him. All the way. After passing through the heart of the forest, the road started to become gradually flattened out. And with the continuous progress, on the way closer to Yuhong City, all kinds of flowers and fruits that are competing for each other gradually increased. About every 10 minutes of walking, you can encounter large or small flower fields and fruit forests. Look out, come out. It has a unique growth environment, and the nearby forest resources are quite rich. And because of the abundance of forests, there are naturally more and more elves encountered. All the way. From time to time, Baizi and others could see mosquito coil swimmers exercising by the water, little Lotta running around, and from time to time, there are timid guys like walking grass and trumpet buds secretly watching them. Even, Baizi saw a flying mantis clan in a clearing in the forest that was holding a leader battle. Wu tilde. A clean, white little head drilled out from the collar of Baizi's chest, looking at the fierce battle like a warrior with a curious face, and his little eyes were full of curiosity. Baizi turned slightly sideways, blocking Joey behind him. Ilya may have looked at the sight. Skillfully, he took out a topaz, colored energy cube with sparkling aqua blue and crystal embellishments from his pocket, and fed it to the little guy's mouth. Ow tilde. Little Lugia went down with a mouth, and even wrapped Baizi's hands and fingers in his mouth. Then, ACBH spit out Baizi's fingers, his little cheeks bulged, his eyes narrowed into a slit, and he shook his head and chewed. Patted the little guy's head. Little Lugia suddenly retracted his head obediently, and after a while, the chewing sound disappeared. Baizi felt his chest being rubbed, and then a slight feeling of breathing and exhaling followed. Baizi's mouth, a hook. Speaking of which, the little guy's temperament is indeed very well behaved. Because there is an outsider, Baizi basically let the little guy rest in the Pokeball, and he needs to be fed alone. The only way to let the wind out can only be like just now, hiding in Baizawai, Liam looking around, and always taking care not to be discovered. But, even so, the little guy is neither noisy nor noisy, and behaves very well and obediently. As long as you don't leave it in the Pokeball for a long time, it doesn't have any opinion at all. It can hide in Baizi's arms and rest happily. On the side, Nazi, who was holding Monini, showed no difference in this regard. Baizi didn't hide the existence of little Lugia from Nazi, and even last night, she had already met and knew little Lugia. To be frank. For the fact that Baizi actually had a Lugia cub, even Nazi's cold state of mind was a little shocking. But now that I think about it, Baizi and Fang Yuan have a relationship with the shining figure of the sky, the god of the sky, and even if he tells himself now that he is still related to King Ho, she will not be surprised at all. At about 6 o'clock in the afternoon, a group of people finally passed through successive flower fields and fruit forest areas and came to the suburb of Yuhong City. The green hills are vast and the woods are lush. The twilight sun, which gradually fell to the west, shone softly in the woods. It was obviously artificially excavated on the Elven Main Road 1 Route 7. And because of the high terrain, from this direction, you can already vaguely see the prosperous city surrounded by green mountains. It's finally here. Baizi exhaled slightly, just as he was about to say something. Swish one by one, a familiar blue and white silhouette suddenly rushed to Baizi's body from nowhere. The blue gem-like headdress, surrounded by white wind-like streamers, and the flying purple temple hair, showed a light blue and white slender figure. It is Suzune. However, judging from the slightly vain aura of the other party, this Sujin is not the deity of Sujin among the three holy beasts. And, it hurts. P.S. Acute enteritis, I almost explained it in the toilet, the missing chapter. If there is no problem tomorrow, I will make it up. I will make up for another chapter after it is clear. I hope everyone will forgive me, I am guilty tilde. This chapter contains pictures. Click the illustration button in the lower right corner of the screen to view the image. Chapter 158. Which side is your ancestral grave facing? Please order 1. Open black lens bracket race. Suicune close black lens bracket. Attribute, water. Characteristic, spiritual power, Monty. Level, Quasi Tianhuang Peak, peak level 59, 75/10 approximately 0. Potential, quasi-god. Status, slightly injured, exhausted. Introduction, one of the descendants of the Phoenix Guards, who is responsible for treating and purifying water sources around the world, was forced to flee from Chengdu area as responsible for purifying water sources. Baizi's complexion was positive. Although the performance of the water dog during the journey made him less favorable towards Suicune, this graceful spirit. However, one size fits all. Running all over the world, purifying the water sources in various places, and returning the sewage to the clear Suiman family, is indeed one of the respectable elves. As for the water dog, it can only be considered blind, and cannot rise to the top of the entire group because of this. Wu tilde. After discovering Baizi, this Sujin didn't move away immediately, but leaned closer and lowered his head, placing the jewel-like headgear in front of Baizi's body. This is, let me touch it. Hesitantly, Baizi put his palm on the Suicune jewel-like headdress. Immediately, a cool feeling like summer appeared all over the body. Wu tilde. Little Lugia, who was affected in her arms, also endured, couldn't stop, and let out a slightly comfortable dream. Her little head rubbed against Baizi's chest, and she slept more soundly. And then, the system's prompt sound followed one by one. Your body was washed by Suicune's purifying power, slightly gained, slightly cool buff 1 hour, slightly the mental relaxation buff, 1 hour, get a slight body lightness buff 1 hour. Oh. Baizi raised his brows, but before he could say anything, this Sui Jun, who was obviously not in the adult state, raised his head slightly and rubbed Baizi's palm. Subsequently, with a soft moan, he jumped into the air and ran towards the dense forest behind Baizi. Soon, the trail disappeared. This is really... Baizi couldn't help crying and laughing. He could feel the closeness of this Suicune to him, which is probably the effect of up to 90% of the affinity of the water system. But he really didn't understand why Sui Jun showed his closeness, but he ran so fast. He originally thought about getting some good wound medicine to treat Suicune. And right now, Skyrim. A man with a yellow-haired gentleman's head wearing a purple swallowtail suit and a white half-waist cape buckled by a red bow tie on his shoulders, rides a cotton shuttlecock that swells up with cotton spores flying in the air. Fluttering, he came to the sky not far above Baizi and the others. The absolute memory ability makes Baizi recognize the identity of the other party at a glance. That one who claims to be an expert in the study of the Huang Guard, has a very obsessive and obsessive pursuit of the incarnation of the North Wind, Sujin Hu, Shui Jing. Speaking of, come on. Sujing's friend, Matsuga, the owner of the Enju City Gym, is also the young patriarch of the Bell Tower clan who has been worshipping Hu for many years. It is a serious century-old family with a history of about 700 years. This offering is not purely spiritual sustenance. Actually, about 700 years ago, when the Bell Tower and the Bell Tower, Scorched Tower, were completed in Enju City, they were indeed favored by top legends and became a habitat for Hu and Lugia. However, about 150 years ago, the Bell Tower was struck by lightning and ignited a fire. Unfortunately, the 3 Pokémon were trapped in the sea of fire and burned to death. Later, the descending Ho Wang was resurrected with the help of fire, water, and thunder 3-type treasures, which is now the 3 holy beasts Yandi, Sujin and Lei Gong. After the resurrection, the 3 holy beasts recognized Ho King as their lord and acted spontaneously as an envoy under Ho King to observe human beings. But the people who witnessed this scene at that time were foolishly afraid of Ho-Oh, who possessed the power to control life, and tried to suppress Suicune, Entei and Lei Gong with violence. Therefore, they chose to leave Yuanju City, away from human beings, and wandered on the continent, running for their respective missions. Feng Wang. Since that day, the Bell Tower has not been descended again. Yuanju City has also lost the blessing of the gods since then. For a time, the tentacles of power almost played the role of the bell tower family in the nearly half of Chengdu area, and it gradually declined. Now, he could only be trapped in this 1/3 of Yuanju City, unable to spread. 0. Ask for flowers. And, speaking of, this Sujing has an almost crazy pursuit of Sujin in anime, games or special chapters. The weight of its obsession. Even far better than Song Yi, the friend of the young patriarch of the Bell Tower clan. Perhaps, I know why Sui Jun was injured and ran so fast. Baizi's eyes narrowed slightly, looking around to search for the shuttlecock, which had come to no avail, with an urgent expression on his face. Cotton Body jumped up and down, and walked towards Shui Jing, who was walking towards him and others. Hey, boy, did you see an aqua blue four-legged elf passing by? Slim and graceful, with purple sideburns and 2 white streamers. Shui Jingyan, Shen was infatuated. His tone seemed a little bossy because of his urgency, and the boss asked him politely, "Did you see which direction it went? If you will answer me, this is yours." Boom. Speaking, Shui Jing flicked his finger, and threw a gold coin with the portraits of himself and Sui Jun as front and back to Baizi's feet. Tisk tilde. Baizi's originally calm expression suddenly raised an inexplicable smile. Beside her, in the eyes of Nazi, who had an indifferent face, there was a cloud, like glowing green light. But he didn't wait for Baizi to say anything. Likewise, before Nazi made a move. Following behind them, Joey, who has reconciled with Gili Egg, holding hands. Ilya suddenly frowned and pulled Gili Egg forward in 3 or 2 steps. He kicked the gold coin into the air, and said with a bad face, "Where's the upstart? Didn't your father teach you how to talk to people? You dress like a dog, how can you be polite? Can't write 2 words. Auntie, I'll give you a piece of gold the size of a brick, may I ask which side your ancestral grave is facing?" Baizi's mouth, a hook. How can this familiar rebelliousness sound a little sweet now? P.S. Continue, Legend Group a few. Chapter 159. It's so funny please order. You. The blue veins on Shui Jing's forehead suddenly burst out, because of the support of a friend who was comparable to the heir of a top giant like Song Yi. Although the family is ordinary, Shu Jing always acts like a noble son, and his spirit is inexplicably high. Unknown. I am afraid that he will think that he is the young master of the bell tower. However, this person is still a bit of a brain. Joey. Ileana can almost be said to be a well-known appearance, and the auspicious eggs around him make Shui Jing instantly think of the Joey family. And the Joey family can be said to be the least provocative family in the elf world. As a medical family that saves lives and wounds. The potential connections of the Joey family can be said to be all over the world. Although it can't be said that it is a decision of life and death, it is easy to make you have no place in the wizard world. You can do 3, 5, 3, easily. Of course, with most of Joey's gentle and watery temperaments, generally speaking, they won't do such a thing easily, that's all. But human beings have always saved others by themselves. Shu Jing itself is not a generous temperament. Therefore, it is naturally difficult to believe that other people will be more generous than himself. What's more, this little Joey who is always asking, which side of your ancestral grave is in front of you, is really hard to believe that the Joey family is really as gentle as the rumors. So, don't be angry don't be angry no one will take care of you when I get sick wipe it. No. Still so pissed. Huh. Shui Jing's breathing were a little heavy, he gritted his teeth, thought, to sneer, turned around and left, but when he saw Baizi's obvious smile out of the corner of his eyes, the man named, reasonable, in his mind. The root string suddenly broke. Hey, boy, you must have seen Suzune, right? Now. I challenge you. If you lose, just obediently tell me Sui Jun's whereabouts. Shui Jing's eyes were slightly red, holding a blue and white super ball with red decoration in his hand, and shouted in a gloomy tone. Nazi's expression became gloomy again, and Bai Zi, who was sharp-eyed, had even discovered the slowly forming, and ready to move, fluorescent green psychic rope on Xu Jing's neck. Slap! Bai Zi quickly grabbed Na Zi's palm and shook his head slightly. Just a jumping clown. Not to think about killing. Nazi pursed her lips slightly, the light in her eyes faded away, and at the same time, the thought power at Shui Jing's neck also annihilated. It's Joey. Ilya has no intention of coming forward this time. Not only did not say a word. Even, she pulled the auspicious egg back a few steps with an excited look, and the young lady just looked at the play. She knew how strong Bai Zi was. Even her invincible Shui was beaten to the point of being almost powerless to fight back. She didn't think that this arrogant guy in front of her would be Bai Zi's opponent. Humph! Another victim of overcomprehension is about to appear. Huh, why do you seem to be scolding someone together? Confused face. Not to mention the not-so-smart Yazie's Joey. Ilya's head is full of question marks. On the side, Xu Jing, who had no idea that he had replaced him in a circle upstream of the death line, was seeing Joey. After Ilya's action, she felt a sense of peace in her heart. Mind you. Immediately tossing the small cape hanging on his shoulders, he asked in a vicious voice, "Why, don't you dare?" Bai Zi sneered suddenly. He actually knew that Shui Jing was not sure if he had ever seen Shui Jun, so he just wanted to take the opportunity to vent. However, if someone wants to abuse, he naturally has no reason to refuse, I promise. Okay. Shui Jing seemed to be afraid of Bai Zi's repentance, and almost couldn't wait to throw the pokeball in his hand. Go, Hudi. Bai Guangzong. Hudi's familiar figure appeared in the middle of the number 7 road. He sat cross-legged in the void, and when his piercing eyes met Nazi's indifferent eyes, he seemed to sense something, and his heart was inexplicably cold. Wu tilde. Hudi's expression tightened, his orange-yellow beard twitched as if it had been fried, his hands clenched the spoon, and he took a defensive posture in midair. In the eyes, the blue psychic light of Yingying faintly appeared. Like an enemy. However, Shui Jing did not notice anything unusual about his elf partner. On the contrary. At this moment, he was showing off with a proud face. When my Hudi was nurturing, he received special training to fight against Suicune, and he especially improved his special attack ability. It and I growing up together as an important good partner to pursue legends and travel together with me. Quote. Open black lens bracket race. Hudi close black lens bracket. Attribute. Super energy. Characteristic. Spiritual power. Level. Gym Intermediate, Level 44, 81/100. Potential. Quasi-King. HP. 55, Attack, 50, Defense. 45, Special Attack. 135, Special Defense. 95, Speed, 120. Skills. Reflecting Wall, Immobilization, Fantasy Light. Genetic Skill. Mind Power. Open black lens bracket condition. Good close black lens bracket. Introduction. Reluctantly, it is a well-cultivated Hudi, but compared to the training of the strength of the mind power, it is actually more talented in the fine operation of the mind power. Wei straightened the small round-framed sunglasses on the bridge of his nose. Bai Zi couldn't help sneering in his heart. Special training against Suicune. Also specially improve the ability of Hudi Special attack. Ha tilde this is just about to die of laughter. Not to mention that Suicune's physical defense and special defense are all unified. Could it be that there is something stupid that doesn't cultivate the special attack of Hudi up to 135, but instead cultivates it in the direction of only 50 physical attack? Not to mention growing up together since childhood. But even the direction of cultivation is wrong, so what are you embarrassed to say 1.7 to pursue legends? Why pursue? Is it just because of this Hudi who doesn't even have a quasi-celestial king? Oh, funny. However, how did Hudi, a middle-level gymnast in a mere gym, hurt Sujin at the quasi-Tianwang peak stage? Could it be that he still has some unknown cards? Or, what else is there in this, for other reasons? P.S. I think, to arrange a new demons or a low-level legend for Kai and Green at the quartz competition. Do you have any candidates? Continue, Legend Group tilde. Chapter 160, Talent. Street Test. For full order. Baizi's eyes narrowed slightly, and while pressing the doubts in his heart, he put his palms to his waist. Hand, finger swipe all the way back. In the end, it stopped on the second luxurious ball of the elf belt. This is the Pokeball with Zoroark. A talent reward system. Baizi's battle mentality is naturally more practical. For him. Unless it is a life and death fight in the wild. Most of the time, he will choose to be similar in strength, or use a slightly weaker elves to fight and win the victory. This is the best use of the talent reward system. It can also be more conducive to the growth of itself and the handheld elves. And Zoroark's level is only a little short of experience points from the middle level of the gym. This Hootie in Shujing. It can be used as a stepping stone for Zoroark to the next level. Zoroark, just use this guy, test your new powers. With Baizi's hand, finger tap, a red light flashed in the middle of the yellow and black luxurious ball, and immediately after the light hit the ground, it turned into Zoroark's bewitching gray-red figure. The thick sideburns like long hair rise without wind, the bright red mouth, corners are slightly raised, and under the red line of eye shadow, the jade-like eyes reveal obvious contempt. Wu tilde. Even after playing O2, it still held up its nails in an intact appearance, without even looking at its opponent. Baizei looked at this posture with a wry smile. Compared with the clingy Zoroha before, the evolved Zoroark has changed in the direction of Lingao Yuji regardless of his posture or temperament. The Phantom Tyrant. Zoroark. Shujing's eyes narrowed, and he recognized that it was also an extremely rare type of elves in Chengdu. After recalling some basic information about Zoroark in his mind, Shui Jing's face was a little ugly. HMPH, do you want to use the advantages of attributes to win? Shui Jing's ugly expression looked at Bai Zei. For a while, it was inexplicable. Although he didn't specifically think about it, the idea of using attributes to gain advantages. However, elves fight. Isn't it reasonable to use attributes? Besides, although Hudi is more dependent on the superpower attribute moves of this school in terms of skills, it does not mean that he has no way to take evil-type elves. Not to mention other skills used for reinforcement. Even if you specialize in superpower. Owns Hudi. In the face of evil spirits, he also has a countermeasure. Unless. You didn't even let your Hudi learn the Eye of Miracles, did you? Baizi had a strange expression. Eye of Miracle. The function is to make the target fall into a state of being seen through. The evasion rate of the spirits in the detected state will be nullified, and they will be forced to be attacked by superpower attribute moves. That is to say, equipped with the Eye of Miracle, the superpower system will not be affected by the attribute restraint and will be invalidated at all. Therefore, as long as the trainers specializing in the superpower system have the conditions and ability, they will learn the Eye of Miracles, a superpower change type skill. But, although it is a very practical trick in the superpower system, but there are not many super-type elves that can be learned. Count genetics. And Mewtwo, who has not yet been officially born. In total, only 9 types of elves can learn the Eye of Miracles. And Hudi. Exactly one of them. Whether this Hudi of Shujing has an Eye of Miracle, is actually clear to Baizi after a brief recollection. The answer is that he did not learn it. So, where on earth did you say the words, special training, following legends, and so on? Is it purely on the face? Then I admit that, except for Guhao, you are invincible for the time being. Baizi's expression like looking at an idiot made Shui Jing's face even more ugly. He couldn't care less about his demeanor, and even shouted, what if there is no miracle eye? Hudi, use your mind power. Expel the object. Wu tilde. Hudi moved when he heard the sound, his hands holding the spoon crossed his chest, and the blindfolded blue thought force spread through the spoon. Immediately, the rock and soil layer on the side of the number 7 road was immediately pulled up by the power of thought, gathered into a ball, and slammed down in the direction of Zoroark in front of Baizi. Opposite. Baizi and Zoroark looked at each other, and immediately chuckled. All right, let's send it off early. Use the claws. Woo tilde. Zoroark responded gracefully and stepped out. In an instant, the ignored Zoroark was all over the number 7 road, densely packed, completely wrapping Hudi. All of them walked towards Hudi like an echo. Boom! The earth and stone suddenly hit the ground, bringing up bursts of dust and smoke, and those, Zoroark, who were hit also walked out of the smoke and dust as if nothing had happened. Accompanied by the sound of sharpening minions like the clash of gold and iron, as well as the uninterrupted footsteps, continue, slowly approaching. The magic sound fills the ears. Although there was no harm, the impending storm made Hudi agitated. The Phantom Overlord. Shui Jing gritted his teeth, but still quickly gave an order. Hudi, don't worry, these are all Zoroark's phantoms, they are fake. Defend with reflective walls. Woo tilde. The instructions from the trainer made Hudi feel relieved, and immediately fell to the ground, raising his overlapping hands to the sky, propping up a hemispherical transparent shield to completely cover himself. Baizi's face was speechless. The reflection wall, also known as the halving reflection, can block physical damage for 5 rounds, halving the damage of physical moves. From a performance point of view, this choice is no problem. After all, Zoroark's claw sharpening skill is an enhanced attack, and the next move must also be a physical attack. Moreover, the semicircular reflective wall 353 can also effectively prevent Zoroark from approaching, so as to avoid being attacked by unexpected approaching. But you, a Hudi who only has psychic power and can fly in the air and can move instantaneously at any time, will not play guerrilla warfare with me. Instead, sacrificing mobility and staying in place, wanting to use a reflective wall to resist my attack for a full 105, and the Zoroark, which has been enhanced by grinding claws. Why are you? With yours, only the physical defense of Hudi less than 50 and the reflection wall that can only reduce damage but cannot resist. Thinking of this, Baizi couldn't help but slightly raised his forehead. What can he say? All I can say is, talent. Forget it, Zoroark, let's just try it out on the street. Tilde. With a melodious chanting, countless Zoroarks dissipated like dream bubbles, and the next second, Zoroark's real body appeared in the protective cover behind Hudi as if it had withdrawn its disguise. His eyes were indifferently squinting at the lower Hudi. Bloody claws and fingers raised. One by one, there was a sound like tearing the wind. In the sound, like a scarlet waning moon streaking across a string, it went straight down. P.S. Continue, Legend Group tilde.